welcome to episode 107 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills and I'm joined as always by Mr. Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. Last week, we looked at our first batch of games from issue 44 of Zap 64, which we are in no way affiliated with, and were bamboozled by Bomboozle, perturbed by Power Pyramids, and scuppered by Scorpion. This week, we continue our look at the games in December 1988, along with what was also going on in the UK singles chart that month. So Graham, bring on the eggnog and tell us of the games to brighten our days this week.
In this old-fashioned chocolate bar turned protein-fueled power flapjack of an episode, we check the horror weather and see if it will be raining blood as we take our lovely pixel-shaded shootiest spaceship out for a blast in Slayer, stick a blue light on our heads, shout Nina, and hop, that's right, hop, through some empty streets chasing after hooligans, ne'er-do-wells and scallywags in the utterly stupid Hopper Copper, and explore what Pac-Man would have looked like if heavily sponsored by a soft drink manufacturer in the Pepsi Challenge Mad Mix game. There are so many protein snacks these days, I even saw high-protein bagels. Now let me tell you, too much of that and your farts become a weapon of mass destruction. Be warned. After all that, we take out our withered, limpy limbs and prod our way around the universe looking for clones in the weird Captain Blood, explore the gang-filled niche world of the vigilante brain surgeon hairdresser in the outright crappy Street Gang, reverse the Austin Ambassador Y-Reg out of the garage, and tear across the scorched though handily roadworthy lands of Overlander before finally getting into yet another excellently shaded pixel robot, and again going for a hop and a jump around some weird screens in Psi-Droid. Ugh, the games in December are not really impressing anyone. Lots of hopping and bouncing, but not much fun, and not a Christmas pudding in sight. It's a right load of jingle balls.
Awesome, maybe, perhaps.
Good old eggnog.
Good old eggnog.
I like nog. I don't like the egg.
I was going to say, what is eggnog? I don't even know what it is.
It's just Advocaat. I think Advocaat is eggnog, isn't it? I think it's.
I don't know why don't they just call it. Why don't they just call it Advocaat then?
Because that's a brand version of
So-
eggnog. I think. I don't actually know.
Hasn't eggnog been around for ages? Is it like something else? Like everyone goes, oh yeah, mulled wine. That's
I
lovely.
don't know.
What
No,
is
it's
it?
not
I don't
mulled
know.
wine. That's just warm wine, isn't it?
I don't know. Is it?
I think. Well, I don't know. The only reason I call Advocaat eggnog is because it's yellow like an egg yolk. That's the only rationale I've got. Other than that, I have no knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything else that's yellow that you just call eggnog?
I don't know. Somebody mixed egg with nog and they got eggnog. What that is, what it means, I've never tried it and I never will.
No, I don't. I won't either.
Never forgiven them for the death of Kurt's boy.
Nog!
It sounds like Klingon if you say eggnog in a kind of gruff Klingon way.
Eggnog!
Eggnog! Get this man some eggnog. Oh, you didn't mean that. Oh, that's very pointy.
I'm no man. I Klingon. Eggnog!
Eggnog!
Absolutely.
Choi chu! Eggnog!
Okay. Just get him something, for God's sake.
God's sake. These Klingons on their bloody eggnog. They've gone through 10 bottles.
They don't even like it.
I don't even know if I'm giving him eggnog. It's Advocaat, for God's sake, and it's expensive.
It's very expensive. It's like a spirit.
It is.
There we go.
It
Anyway,
is alcoholic. It is alcoholic.
it is alcoholic. Anyway, we've looked at this cover. That was last week. So
Yes,
we've got another 7 games to look at this week. Singles, all kinds of stuff going on. Should we get into it?
Yes.
Get into it?
Yes.
Let's get into it. Let's get into our first game this week. And that game is a budget game. It's a budget game which got 90%, a silver medal.
Ooh.
It is Slayer.
Shiny.
Slayer.
Slayer.
I'm trying to do my best Slayer voice from Halo. Slayer.
I thought he was trying to do an impression of the singer from the band Slayer.
I don't even know what they sound like.
Neither do I. I'm in eggnog territory all over again.
He's just saying stuff.
The only reason I know that he's in it is because the word Slayer in this game, and I've just attributed the two together.
There you
just
go.
The way it goes. It's the way it rolls.
It is. Well, this is Slayer. This is from Houston's budget label Racket, and this is a horizontal shmup, very much in the mold of Salamander and Armalite. But can this budget title hold its own against those full-price behemoths? Well, this was created by Imperial Software Design, and that means it was programmed and scored by Gary Biasillo. I didn't know he programmed games. Then. Not by the Empire, no, certainly not.
The offshoot.
Your lack of coding prowess displeases me. This multiplexer is rubbish. Sorry, Lord Vader, we'll do better next time.
We'll do better next time.
Make sure you do.
He do?
You do.
Darth Vader doesn't speak that way.
Make sure you do,
Although he should.
He should.
He should do. Darth Vader should talk about that more often.
I was going to say, you have now been promoted to lead coder. Do not disappoint me.
You'd set the build off too early. I thought it would be a good idea to release the game in pizza.
Yes.
Anyway, enough of that.
Anyway, it was Gary Biasillo. We first saw him doing music. He did the music for Joe Blade and Target Renegade.
He did, yeah.
But he's got coding duties as well. He's coded this game as well. To be fair, he's gone on to have quite a solid career in the industry. He's worked at EA quite a lot during the early noughties. He worked on their NHL and FIFA series and other titles.
Cool, blimey.
He did art and graphics on Battlefield 3.
Wow. Oh, he has been around then.
And since then, he's working on mobile titles at the moment, so he's still working as far as I can see. Good to see.
Oh,
nice.
That's good.
Graphics in this are by Mike Williams. He would go on to do some visuals on ST and Amiga games as well. So, these people went on to other stuff.
They did stuff.
Yeah, there's not much story to dig up on this one. I have to say, you are the Slayer and you deal in death. That's what the box proclaims. It's you or them, so go out and kick some butts before they frazzle you with photon lasers. That's it. That's your story.
Do you need more story? I don't think you do.
No, it's exciting stuff. It is what it is. Because we've seen plenty of games like this before, so why waste time on complicated stories when people just want to shoot stuff, really? It is what it is. So the game starts with a decent title screen. We can play 1 or 2 players taking turns and use 1 or 2 joysticks. You can each have your own joystick. No multiplayer, though, so no simultaneous play, but you can have your own joystick. But it's a little something. And you can also see the high scores if you want. We also get a decent rendition of the Human League's Blind Youth, which is an odd choice. It's an odd choice for the song, though, but it kind of fits.
The only one they would license, but okay.
License? License? But I think it works quite well here. There's a good version of it, because obviously Gary Biasillo's done music. His music for Target Renegade is really good.
For this. It's got weird drums, but it's good.
Yeah, it's good. Anyway, there's no options. I've given through the options. You press fire, gets into the game, and we're instantly here. We are in familiar territory. This looks very like IO, I thought. Some of Armalite and Zynap's thrown in for good measure, which is quite the compliment when those are some of the best looking shooters around on the system. I mean, that's not, we don't throw these names around with abandon. But, they do look, it does look good. There's no auto fire, so get used to your thumb hurting after a while, as you can fire as fast as you can press it. But, that's good to see. We've bemoaned so many games, just a single bullet on screen. We've bemoaned loads of them where that's all you can do, but not here, that's for sure. And we're very much, as I said, in sci-fi territory, and the graphics are on the landscapes and the ship and enemies. They're pretty good. They're very good. I think it looks and belies the budget price. This doesn't look particularly budget. It looks very smart. Looks very smart, plays very smart, sounds very nice. It's all good. And it looks a lot better than many full price games we've seen. A lot better, I have to say. We're straight into the action. We're beset by ground-based enemies in the top and bottom because it's that kind of Nemesis, Salamanders. There's enemies top and bottom, but you're moving into a kind of space station type thing. So it's more like IO in that respect. So there's enemies shooting at you from top and bottom. And, here you've got to navigate the landscape. Contact with anything kills you. Anything, bullets, landscape, enemies, anything, it all kills you. So avoid everything at all costs. The UI for this is at the bottom of the screen. It shows your score in nice big numbers, which I liked. That score is big, and I liked it. The number of ships you have left in little slots, which I quite liked as well. And the level you're on, which is, looks good. It's not in the border. All right. We've seen a lot of stuff in the border recently to give us more screen space to play with, but I don't think it interferes too much with the amount of space the game takes place in. It's probably about 7/8 of the screen is still game, so it's still plenty big enough. It's all right. Controls are simple: 8-way movement and fire to shoot. It's standard shoot 'em up controls. It is what it is. As you progress through the level, you can find power-ups scattered about. These are always in the same place, so they don't come from enemies. They are actually placed in the levels, so you can kind of count on where they're coming from. And they come in several variants. The first one you find is a purple orb. This gives you a spinning drone that orbits your ship and shoots as well. So it's not like the tracking ones of Salamander. It goes around. It's more like it's a cross between the ones from Salamander and the ones from Sidearms, I guess.
Yeah, and Cybernoid as well.
And Cybernoid, yeah. Yeah, Cybernoid too. So it goes around you and shoots wherever it is. That's what it does as well. And you can have 2 of these on the go at one time if you find another one and they've still managed to keep hold of the one you have. So you'll be spitting out death all over the place. You'll also see eyeballs. That's kind of weird. So collect them, though, and you'll get downward 45-degree fire. Collect another, and you get upward 45-degree fire. So if you've got the 2 purple orbs and you've managed to get 2 eyeballs and you haven't died in the meantime, that's quite a lot of firepower you suddenly seem to have at your disposal. All good. Very useful. There are also capsules. If you run into these, they activate a smart bomb, killing everything on screen. Again, nice, but I think this is where it kind of maybe falls down a bit because it's like they're placed, so you can't use them where you might want to use them. Yeah. they are where they are, so it is what it is. Finally, there are pods, and these give you extra lives should you collect them. So that's it. There's no holding down fire. There's no selecting your power-ups. There's no that weird stuff we saw with that other one the other week where you're getting all kinds of letters, E, I, X, F, P, all that kind of crazy stuff. None of that. Nice and simple. You just get what you get. The enemies that come at you are fairly varied. Some waves of enemies. There's these massive jets halfway through the first level.
Yes, they are big.
For no reason. I don't know what they were doing there. Very odd. They're impressive, though, but they're odd and a little out of context. There's even massive snake-like orb chain things that sort of go, spin around and very fast. Those. And that is very impressive. Yeah, there's more than 8 of them. There's a lot of sprites on screen. So they go around really fast as well. And they whiz around the screen. And you got to shoot the head of them, basically. It doesn't take much to shoot them as well, which is quite nice. Usually these kind of things, like in Delta and stuff like that, take about 1 million shots. Here, not too many, so it's not too bad. Should you make it to the end of the level, you've got bosses that are there to be taken out, and these need to be taken out piece by piece, shooting away its guns until you get to kill it. Quite a nice touch. So it's you've got to shoot out this. The first one it kind of fires cross bullets straight on, and these kind of sort of wavy bullets. So you've got to take them out piece by piece, each of its guns. You're not sure you can shoot them at first. When you finally do, you're like, it's kind of handy. And I can say at this point, try and keep your diagonal fire because it makes that first end level boss a lot easier. Trying to take it on with just your normal horizontal fire, tricky. Oh, so tricky. But if you can do that, it's good. So the first one, you shoot out its guns to kill it, and there's like a small brain behind a load of guns. You shoot that and you destroy it, and you move on to the second level. And there's a big dinosaur type thing. It's got loads of bullets in its body, sort of guns in its body and moving about and stuff like that. And you got to shoot them, and then you blow its mouth off, and then you kill that one. And the third one is a lizard, like a lizard type thing, where it's got a huge gun behind it, and you got to kill all that. Yeah, so throughout, the visuals are very good, and the end-of-level bosses are a particular standout. I thought they were really nicely drawn. There's some nice shading on them. They look cool. It's all nice. They're big and screen. They do that thing where a lot of it's character graphics and the small bits moving, but it works well. And so, yeah, pretty good so far. What the downside? It's hard. It's quite hard, and the collision detection is a bit on the unforgiving side. It's not Armalite, not on your side. It's not as bad as IO, I don't think, which I think is a bit too bad, but it's somewhere in the middle of Armalite and IO, I thought this, in difficulty level. It is tricky. You will die a lot. And I think it's that because it's only got those 3 levels, which I guess is the other downside. I mean, I managed to make it to level 2. Did you get to level 2?
I got past the first boss.
Yeah, so you get past the first boss, and when you start a new level, you lose all your previous power-ups. But at the start of level 2, there's these like indestructible balls that are oscillating like 45 degrees side to side. Like from the bottom.
The balls out of Whizball, the green ball.
Yeah, they're green, but they're like stacked 4 on top, and they go boo, side to side, sort of stationary at the bottom, but then
waving.
like a waving sort of thing, like a sort of clock hand or something like that, going back and forth. And they take up nearly the entirety of the screen.
Yeah, it's tricky.
And you've also got a gun shooting it from the other side of it, and you've got a very, very small gap to get through. And then you've got another one, and another one, and another one, which is even harder. And I think that was as far as I got. I couldn't get past them. I could get past the first couple, but it's just too much. There's some of them. Most of the long plays I went to have a look at on YouTube are Tool or Poke Assisted, which goes to show the game stuff. There is one I watched which someone did make it through without, which was impressive. But most of them, and they say in the actual write-ups that this game is too hard. You need it. But it's tough. It's very hard. And I think those 3 levels, I think they've tuned it because there's only 3 levels. So we've got to give some people something to go at. It's a bit of a shame, really. 3 levels is a bit tight, I think. Most people never see them as it becomes really, really hard as you progress. And again, that's a shame, as the graphics on the later parts are really nicely done. I was watching the YouTube playthroughs, and some of the later sections, they're really, really look really cool. And most people are never going to get to see them. It's like, oh, no, it's a bit of a shame. There's a lot to like here, though. For £3, this is probably the best budget shooter we've seen, all told. I don't know if we've seen much better in terms of, it looks and sounds great, and it's going to offer plenty of challenge, that's for sure. So the draw to come back is pretty high, and I found myself banging my head against this for some time. I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was all right. There are some concessions to difficulty, though. There's got some mid-level continues, should you die part way through. That's nice. You don't go all the way back to the beginning. And on the whole, I think 90% for this, for a £3 product, I think that's about right. It's very well produced. I think if they had one more level, toned the difficulty down a notch, this had been one of the best on the machine. This would have been a real, people would have talked about this a lot. £3, this is incredible. But, for £3 as it is, you could do a hell of a lot worse. This is, if you're into your shoot-em-ups and you want a budget Armalite, Synapse, IO type affair, this is going to be, this is going to do you grand. I enjoyed my time with this, just a bit too hard. but what did you think?
I didn't like it as much as you did, but nor is it rubbish. In fact, far from it. I mean, it's very pretty, really nice looking. Graphics have that they've kind of developed a look for this kind of pixel shading on the 64. There's a lot of games picking up on it. The Cybernoids do it. A lot of the Houston games have that kind of look, but that's not a bad look. It's good. That sort of metallic-y shaded kind of effect. It's good. It's got some. It plays okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's aside from a very infrequent little glitch on the multiplexer that occurs now and again, it was pretty much flawless, really. I mean, my finger just got tired hammering the button, really, essentially, in this, which is kind of what it sort of niggled me with it. The upgrades don't really make you feel very powerful either, because you don't keep them for long because it is quite hard. And that's kind of a bit of a bugbear, but it's £3. So there's good detail in this, actually, in the pixel work. I was impressed with the graphics for a budget game. It's like you said, it's really head and shoulders above many that we've played. The sound effects are very sparse in the game, though. The music's good at the beginning, but the sound effects of your main sort of shooting will drive you slowly mad.
It will do if you keep hammering it, especially when you get quite a few, because you get ricochet sound effects as well, which kind of overwrite each other, don't they? And it gets a bit tinny.
It's just a bit of a cacophony, and there's not a lot of other sounds in it.
No, that's true.
It's a bit weird. And the stars in the background don't scroll separately, which I suppose is maybe with all the stuff going on, does it matter? But it just, it's a budget game. I think maybe they'd have been benefited from more shorter levels. We've said that about a couple of these games. 3 long levels or longish levels. Just, you could do shorter levels. 6 shorter levels is just as good, just the same. Yeah. But other than that, I thought it was very good for a budget game with some of those nice details. Just a bit too difficult. It's just on the wrong end of the difficulty spike for me. But then again, I say that it is very difficult, but there's only 3 levels. Maybe that's why, and maybe
I think that's exactly why. Yeah, I think that's it.
I think my main gripe with it is it just felt a little bit devoid of its identity. It was, but so much of it was borrowed from other games that it felt like it didn't have an identity of its own. Yeah. It just felt like you're looking at a game that was a bit of a Frankenstein of all sorts of other games, which isn't a bad thing, but it just could have done with its own little bit of something. I don't know quite what that would have been. And it has it here and there in some of the design, but I think it's just, I don't know. I think we've played that many of these games now that to stand out, you do need to have a little bit of something, a little bit of sauce, magic sauce in there, even a little tiny bit. And this one just felt like I was looking at a bit of a sort of a Houston by numbers shooter game type, really. But that said, for £3, it ain't bad either. So I enjoyed playing it, but I just found it a little bit, I don't know, just a bit dull.
I get that. I think maybe what the second and third levels are much more individual in the fact they go a bit more organic, and they're not quite that. We've seen that, that opening like Synapse, Armalite, IO, Space Station type look loads of times. You said the second and third level don't go down that route so much. They're a bit more organic, and so maybe if it had sort of lent into that for the first level, it'd have been maybe like you said, given it a bit more of its own identity. I think
it might have, I don't think it would have helped though. I think the problem is that all these levels have been kind of done, and that's not their fault of this game. They've just been done a lot. We've seen that many side-scrolling shooters, and I think perhaps we've just seen a lot recently. We've just been a whole bunch all at once.
Yeah, there has.
So they all kind of have a look and play in a kind of way. And I don't know if it's me getting tired of them, maybe a little bit of that, but I think there's just nothing about this stood out, really. I've seen good graphics because it looked a bit like Cybernoid 2, and we had that last time. And I think it just needed something. A little bit. I don't know what that would be, but it just needed something. Yeah. But that said, it was way better than some of the other guff we've played, the side-scrolling type. So for £3, it amazes me that for £3, it's a bargain. There's no way around that. I mean, it's really good.
I think that's what it is. If you take your mind back all the way what you remember we said about that hole-in-one game, and you go, it's budget leaderboard, it's budget Armalite IO, isn't it?
It is.
And so if all you've got is £3, you can't afford the real version. This is a decent enough substitute.
It is, but it's an above-average budget game, but not an above-average shooter. It's just like it's just like the others. Yeah. But for £3, at least it's better value than some of those god awful things we've played. So I enjoyed playing it. I did enjoy playing it, and it does. And I think you're right. It wouldn't look out of place graphically next to Armalite and some of the others that we've played, and IO and things like that. The graphics are amazing, and it's really good for that.
Yeah, there we go. Slayer.
And all that.
And all that, yeah, indeed. That's our first one, Slayer. So, I'm probably more into that one than you are, but that's fair enough. But £3, a bargain. Let's move on. We've got 2 more left. Let's see what joys they might bring. And Graham, it's time for you to be a hopper copper.
Do you know, I don't think there's going to be much fun to be had from this.
Do you not? Oh,
No, I don't. This is from Silverbird. It's coded by Mr. Bury again. We've had him before.
yeah. What did he do? I can't remember what he did.
You know what? I didn't even look because I remember mentioning it in the last Bury game, and I can't remember. It wasn't very good. That's what I remember.
No.
It says here the graphics are just by Sam, and that's off Lemon, and the musician is Kim Christiansen, and the music wasn't bad, I suppose. So this is Hopper Copper, 199, 30 whole percents from the old Zapped team. It says Hopper Copper by Prune Software. Anyway, it wasn't released by them. No. A team of 4 armed and dangerous robbers are on the loose. They're ready to commit crime at any time. Where will they strike next? Will it be the bank, the restaurant, or even the chip shop? These cruel desperados have carefully planned their crime spree. They've stolen all the police cars and hidden them, leaving you only a child's Astro Hopper on which to give them chase. Once you've found them, you must bounce on them, knock them out, and leave them to be picked up by the only police van still in the district. That's the game. That's what we're going to do. There's 4 types of robbers. There's bashers, triggers, nasties, and looties. Bashers throw clubs at you, which will stun you. Triggers will shoot at you, take shots, trigger happy. Nasties is like a little kid, drops tacks on the ground, and obviously pop your hopper, which sounds very painful.
No one's popping my hopper, thank you very much.
The looty chap is harmless, only he carries a loot bag, so it could cause you, and should cause you no problems. So quite the purpose of the lootiers. Anyway, I don't know. I think there's also, in the instructions, there is a map for this, which you will need because, you won't need it because you won't want to do it, but, there's a map. So it's a daft idea, this turned into a game. I don't quite understand a few things about this, and I'll sort of tackle them as I go along. The front-end presentation was okay. So there's a Hopper Copper logo, it's got its own little brand, and there's a policeman on a bloody space hopper. Why aren't they calling them space hoppers anyway? Since when has it ever been known as an Astro Hopper? Or is it just me that called it
was space hopper copyrighted?
I don't know. I read it in the Zap review, they referred to it as Astro Hopper, and I'm like, Astro Hopper? Anyway.
Maybe a regional thing.
I suppose it's all meant to be fun and nothing too you're a policeman chasing criminals on a space hopper. Yeah. Why don't you just walk?
You'd
or
be
run
faster and easier to control, that's for sure.
Exactly. Or just use the one van that's working and round them up in that. You don't really need to just chase after anybody on a space hopper.
You can fit loads more coppers in a van as well.
Why a space hopper? Why not just get a bike? Or any other mode of transport that isn't as ridiculous and painful to use and any long-winded journey. Anyway, once you pass the title screen and the Hopper Copper and his Astro Hopper go past, or his Space Hopper, which I prefer the name of, you can start the game. So there you go. You start the game. And I found that when you start the game, you're presented with your Hopper Copper on a Space Hopper, and you just hop around.
Yeah.
So you just hop to the left, you hop to the right, go past some shops, hop around. Seemingly there was no criminals in the vicinity when I was doing it. And I found that the game itself was kind of devoid of anything to do for me, aside from hop past some shops looking for the robbers that there is a map on there as well, and I'll come to the layout of the screen. But there seem to be precious few robbers on this game, and precious few of anything.
There's only 4, remember?
Yeah, but it's 4 types. But I mean, I came across, in the full time I was playing this, I came across 1. I'll come back to that, though. So the game screen was split into the logo at the top, a street map kind of thing under that, which presented you as a dot, and any of your criminal friends as a dot. Under that, there's the main game area with some, I guess you'd call them passable, maybe just backgrounds of streets, shop fronts and such, and your copper on his hopper, bouncing. You move the copper with your joystick, you press the fire button to bounce higher. Under that window, there's some text, which tells you your location, where there is a crime happening, which is obviously where you need to get to, and a countdown timer, which the relevance and inclusion of is not mentioned in the instructions whatsoever. So I'm guessing it indicates some kind of remaining time that you have. The street view does have junctions and turns, so you're actually moving around a map, which, as I've said, is in the instructions. And so there is a kind of direction of sorts. The idea is you find the locations of the crimes on the map and hop on the robbers. So hence the Hopper Copper. Hilarious. But the idea is that you'll obviously come across them, hop on them, and then you leave them ready for the van to pick up. At that point, you probably should get in the van and then just drive around and find them. It's much quicker.
Much quicker.
Every robber I came across, I say every, or one of them, in the whole time I played it, came across like a roadrunner. Like he sped away from me at like a rate of knots. I couldn't catch up with him on my space. It would have been quicker to throw that way and run after him. So I was just desperately hopping after this robber on my space hopper, and he's bombed off the screen. He was gone. It's like a bloody rat out of trap. There's no chance. So it was way faster than I could hop, even at full hopping speed, which was alarmingly fast for a man on a space hopper. So I didn't catch any criminals or hop on anybody because I couldn't find anybody. When I did, they ran away like a bloody, like there was no way I was catching up with them. Put it that way, they were fast. It was the same bolt of robbers here. Graphics are all very borderline in this game. And the hopper and the copper, I suppose they look like what they are in that kind of bitty way. So it looked more like a splodge of policeman-shaped sprite sat on a balloon. But okay, it's what it is. But none of it felt very well developed or very well thought out. It exists, is the most you could say about this game. It looks the part, I guess. If you were aiming to make a game based around a policeman on a space hopper, then this would be the output. Then it would be what it is.
It is, yeah.
And so it looks the part. The music was catchy and not unpleasant. I thought on this, it was all right. The music, not bad. So that side of it's okay. The sort of you can almost get away with the production because it's a functioning game loop. There's graphics aren't great. They're quite blocky, really. But they are there and they do function in what they're supposed to be. The game, though, is dull and fruitless. And trouble is then it's also neither funny or fun. Just hopping around quickly becomes tiresome. And there's little payoff either because I didn't catch anybody, nor was there any chance I was probably likely to. You'll quickly realise with this game that even for a couple of quid, it's just nothing but code and a badge. and that ain't good. Ain't good for anyone. So I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was a bit meaningless and dull with some every now and again blocky-ish background graphics and the occasional robber to bounce on that you're never going to catch. Other than that, it was devoid of anything that interested me and I was quickly aiming for the restart button. How about you?
Well, I did actually catch 2 robbers, which then only added more questions because when you catch them, you bounce on them, you knock them to the floor, and then the van turns up and takes them away.
What's the whole purpose of the game?
Stupid. Yeah, it is. But as you say, why are we not using the van in the first place?
Because that way you wouldn't be able to call it Hopper Copper then.
It'd be Van Copper. Copper Van.
Copper Van. Cop Van, the game.
Cop Van, the game. Just chase around, drive around. Oi, stop it. What do you say about this? Stolen police cars leaving only space hoppers to move about on. I mean, okay. It wouldn't be too bad, I guess, if the game did anything interesting with it. Instead, you bounce around these boring streets, which reminded me of them old games we played, like Ghetto Blaster.
Ghetto Blaster. I was trying to think of the bloody game.
And
it was like
those kind of things, that kind of, you come to a junction and you push up and go, or Andy Cap. It's that kind of navigation. Except in here, I got annoyed by the drone music. The music annoyed me. But I struggled to navigate through the junctions because I'd be pushing up and down and it wouldn't, no, not going up there. You had to be like almost pixel perfect to actually get to go up and down to turn these junctions. First, I thought I was lost, but anyway, you just track down these very similar bad guys and bounce them. There's very little to this. Remember, he did Stunt Bike Simulator.
Oh, that's the one.
The one where you have to hang glide onto your bike to start with.
Yeah.
That one. So I suppose, like you said, I've written the same. There's very little to this. I suppose the best you can say about it is that it works as intended, I guess.
What a damning review that would be.
It works as intended. Okay, but that's not much at all to commend it, is it?
No, not really.
You've made a thing and it works, and it's not a particularly interesting thing, and it's kind of stupid and it's a bit boring and bland. A copper on a space hopper shouldn't be boring, really. All things said, it's quite like you said, it's quite an amusing concept, and they could have done some amusing stuff with it. I don't know.
And I thought there'd have been more hazards popping your space hopper than there is, but there isn't any. Apart from if you meet that guy, which you won't.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we bemoan games which just constantly spawn enemies, but then when there's nothing, it's the complete opposite. There needs to be some kind of challenge.
It reminded me of that Laurel and Hardy game that we played.
Yes, that as well. That's what I was thinking about that as well when playing this. It's those, and also in navigation, Death Wish 3, that He-Man game.
It was the Laurel and Hardy game was the last one I played where I was just wandering around for ages, doing nothing.
Yeah.
Well, not the last one, but it's the last one that felt a bit like this does.
Yeah,
just devoid of anything to do.
Yeah, because that Andy Cap game was morose.
It's just so depressing. Me.
This one is that Laurel and Hardy is quite close. Anyway, 30%. Yeah, I suppose 30% is because it works as intended.
Yeah, exactly. 30% for the fact that it loads,
and it's £2.
Great.
Yeah, you wouldn't be happy with this.
No, and the tape would be quite short, so even if you wanted to tape over it with some singles off the radio, you wouldn't get many on it, would you?
You wouldn't, no. So you'd be a bit disappointed there as well. You might get like a half a take 5 on minutes. Me on it.
Yeah, well, you get take. Yeah.
Well, you have to have something police-themed. You'd get Roxanne on it if it's a copper tape, Every breath you take or something, it'd have to be...
A jaunty version of the Bill theme.
do, 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 do.
That would be better than the music, isn't it?
Oh dear. Anyway, there we go. Hopper Copper. It's not very good. Let's move on. We've got one more left. And that one is partial credit to the Pepsi Challenge Mad Mix game. If you have 2 Pepsis and someone gives you 3 more, how many do you have? 5 Pepsis. Well done. Partial credit. This is shameless, isn't it? The Pepsi Challenge Mad Mix game. What do you say? Right. From US Gold and developed by Toposoft, we are challenged by Pepsi in the Mad Mix game. Why are Pepsi challenging us? What is the Mad Mix? Maybe the story behind the game will enlighten us. Are you ready for this? As far as Mad was concerned, life was going nowhere. Bored, with few friends, he was always on the lookout for a good time, but he still lacked something. His father had told him many stories of his grandfather, the great Mad Elder, the most successful of his Pepsi Man family, at the grueling task of dealing with the prowling house ghosts, which, to the embarrassment of Mad, had not been continued by his father. Then it happened. Ghosts started to appear, spreading destruction and panic throughout the entire Pepsi village. In desperation, the mayor of the beleaguered little town turned to Mad's father for help. However, to the astonishment of everyone, Father Mad admitted that he had always been afraid of ghosts and would have to decline. No, I'm not doing it.
Stupid story segue is that.
Mad, incensed by his father, decided instantly that it was time to follow in his grandfather's footsteps in what must be the most dangerous Pepsi Man challenge. The mission then, the challenge is to guide the Pepsi Man through each of the 15 mazes in turn, dodging ghosts and other evil creatures. Use skill and timing to take advantage of all the special features secreted throughout each maze, because only a combination of these will allow you to be successful. Ghosts, mazes. This sounds awfully familiar, and not much to do with Pepsi.
No, I think this wins the gratuitous use of the word Pepsi award. For definite, it's a special award just for this game.
I think so. Pepsi Man, Pepsi Town, Pepsi Village.
Pepsi Town, Pepsi Village.
Pepsi Man Challenge. Anyway, this was coded by Jesus Medina, graphics by Roberto P. Acebes, I think. Music by Cesar Astudillo, and designed by Rafael Gomez, and I apologise for the pronunciation there. Who I presume make up Toposoft, I guess.
They also drank a lot of Pepsi during the making of this game.
Too much Pepsi. So if you've not guessed, this is a Pac-Man variant, or maybe a Pac-Mania variant, I guess, as this features scrolling mazes in addition to the simple formula in the original game. The story has no real bearing on the game at all. None. And it seems that the game's tie-in with Pepsi was that if you scored over 20,000 points in the game, you sent your name and address and that of a witness to verify your score. Yes, I can say he got 25,000 points. Did he? Yes. Did he really?
Yes, he did. I saw it.
I saw it with my own eyes. God bless me. You'd be entered into a prize draw to win some cool Pepsi merch, which, going by the picture inside the instructions, looked like a Pepsi watch, a US gold cap, a Pepsi ruler, a Thunderblade t-shirt, and even a mystery game. So if you spent a tenner on this, because it's £10, you got over 20k and you sent it off, you might get a ruler.
Oh, I suppose it's something.
It's something. But you might not. You're in a prize draw. So.
Lamest prize draw ever.
It's not great. So would you want to play this to get... I mean, what's the mystery game? It's going to be Thunderblade, isn't it? So would you want to play this to get 20,000 into the draw, or is this just a cheap way to get people to buy a game for a tenner and then possibly offer them a chance of a couple of quid prize for playing it? 50p prize, whatever. Yeah. It's like those claw machines at the beach.
It certainly is.
It's one of them. I'll let you decide on that one. Back to the game. And as I said, this sits somewhere between Pac-Man and Pac-Mania, which was the isometric 3D scrolling update to Pac-Man from Namco, which we will get a port of somewhere down the line. I think 1989 we get a port of that. Here in Mad Mix Challenge, you play as Pepsi Man, and you must navigate 15 scrolling mazes and eat all the pills contained in the maze and not get caught by the ghost. He's Pac-Man. You know Pac-Man. Everyone knows Pac-Man. The mazes are bigger though than the screen and scroll in all 4 directions, up, down, left, right. Standard Pac-Man rules apply in that you have power pills, which make you invulnerable and are able to eat the ghosts, but they have added some new abilities and enemies into the Mad Mix as well. As well as the ghost, there is the Lady Bother. Not the Lady Botherer, which would be worse, I suppose, but the Lady Bother is just a ladybird. So this roams the maze and replaces pills you've already eaten. Then there is the Repugnant. It's a really strange name for something, which clamps pills, stopping you from eating them. But you can counter these new enemies. You can now turn into a Pepsi-potamus.
For God's sake.
Which stops you from eating pills, but allows you to kill both the Lady Bother and the Repugnant. You can also change into the Pepsi Digger, which allows you to unclamp the pills clamped by the Repugnant. There are also special tiles. The most basic of these move you in set direction and then disappear once they have done so. So it's basically, they point their arrows pointing up, down, left, or right. When you step on them, it pushes you in that direction. But there are also tiles which turn you into the Pepsi tank or the Pepsi ship. And whilst on these, you can blast any enemies that get in your way. There's like a little sort of treadmill. It's like a little band sort of thing, and you move up and down
track,
it. And you borrow the tank and you can shoot the ghost and stuff. Finally, there are trapdoors, which can only be entered in one direction because they flip up after you've gone through them. They're useful for blocking ghosts hot on your trail. They're quite handy because the ghosts will bounce off them because they stop progress. As ever with Pac-Man, the aim is to eat all the pills, and in doing so, you progress to the next different maze and repeat as the challenge goes up and the new enemies and tiles are slowly introduced. The first maze is pretty much the same as the original Pac-Man, but from there, they change them up quite significantly. The mazes loop round from left to right as well, so they are not infinite. They're not that wide, but they go from left to right. So, if you go all the way to the left, you just keep going, but it's just the actual maze design loops around, like kind of like Defender. They take up the top 3/4 of the screen, and the UI at the bottom shows a Topo Soft logo, a Pepsi logo, because, of course. Also shows the year, which I didn't... Why the year?
Don't question the logic of crazy,
there's also the name of the game. None of this is of any use at this point.
Nope.
Finally, we get your score and the number of lives left. Okay. The graphics on this are functional at best. It's not slow, and it moves and scrolls smoothly. So I'll give it that. It does move around fast. There's nothing bad about how it plays. It plays fine. The sprites are a bit on the blocky and distinct side. Pepsi Man is like Pac-Man with legs. So they've gone for that sort of thing. And it kind of has a bit of an isometric sort of top-down look view to it. But, it's all right. But they're a bit blocky and distinct side. The maze are a bit dull as well. And there's really weird, odd nods to Pac-Man in the walls of them at times. It's like the Pac-Man is just there, which is odd. I found that was quite weird. It's like, you've ripped off Pac-Man. Don't put Pac-Man in it. Pretty sure Namco have nothing to do with this. The ghosts are going around. It's Pac-Man. It looks similar to Pac-Man and Pac-Mania, but sort of somewhere in the middle. The sound is nothing to write home about. There's a really boring average tune at the start. There's the usual eating noise as you munch the pills. However, the little ditty that plays as the lady bother, na 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 na, moves around, replacing the pills, will drive you crazy, which is, I suppose, is the point. Because you want to go and kill it. It gets very annoying, though. So, you want to go stop it doing that or whatever. I don't know. We've got the port of Pac-Mania coming out soon. But if you wanted some scrolling Pac-Man action in your life at the moment, this got, what did it get? It got 40-odd%, 48. Yeah, it's competent. It's fine. It's average. It's got some nice little additions to the formula with the guns and the stuff. The problem is that aside from the original maze, the new mazes are not that well designed. They're really like... It's just a load of cross points, and they're not that particularly interesting to navigate. So it actually makes you appreciate that original maze all the more because it's a well-designed maze and has proper little points of getting around and stuff. I also found because you're constantly moving, I would often miss turnings because it just wouldn't either recognise my push or whatever. So I had to kind of start playing, sort of compensate for that and pushing up well early or down well early, right, whatever. I don't know. I mean, for a branding exercise, this is dreadful. But as a game, I didn't hate it. It's cross-promotional nonsense. I just don't get what it had to do with Pepsi. It's a strange one for sure. It's weird. It's not a terrible scrolling Pac-Man game. It's just a bit average. And I don't know. I don't really know what to say about it. It's a bit ugly, all told, as well. It is what it is. What did you think?
Principally the same. Medium res bitty Pac-Man clones. Playable in the way that Pac-Man is, but it's all been done. So is this idea that they're sort of mixing things up a bit with different characters and shooting uppy spaceships on tracks bits and stuff. Maybe it is that.
Yep.
And I suppose really I enjoyed parts of it because it's like saying you can't enjoy Pac-Man. Pac-Man has an instant appeal of just wandering around collecting the things. It's an easy game to get into. It's no difficult challenge reading this game. It is what it is. And it was really easy. That first level was way easy. So, and I suppose that, okay, that's maybe the in. But the graphics felt like a massive step backward for me. They looked chunky. It was kind of the look of it. If you imagine if Gauntlet and Pac-Man had a child, that's what it would kind of look like on the 64.
It's also grey in it as well. That first maze is grey. That's not a friendly colour.
It's just not it's not terrible crap, but it's also not great, as in it's just not that enjoyable a game.
Yeah.
You might, for the novelty of it, if it was budget, I know I'm not sure what it's got to do with Pepsi and all, I was just overwhelmed with the Pepsiness of it all, but it's got budget game written all over this. If this was $1.99, it might have been a little bit more, forgiving and passable.
Yeah.
But for the best part of £8 or more or less full price, I'm not sure really what it's offering for full price. And as you said, you've got Pac-Mania and stuff like that around the corner. And you've also had Pac-Land, which is more fun to play than this, even if it wasn't perfect. So I don't know. I don't think there's a place for this in my grand canon of amazing games. I don't generally like these really obviously product-based tie-in games either like this. I'm sure we'll end up playing the Coca-Cola Super Challenge game or something shortly, because they were always at each other's tails, weren't they? But
maybe.
This is neither, it's not terrible, but neither is it very interesting, nor is it doing anything interesting. And even the little quirks that they've added aren't really that much fun. So in the end, it's a dull snooze, an old bore, an unworking clock. I don't know. It's just not very interesting. It's a table tennis bat in the sand. It's just not very interesting.
I don't know what that metaphor means.
It's one of those things. It's neither here nor there. You look at it, you go, it might make you go, oh, why is that there? But you're not going to spend too much time thinking about it. So that's me. Yeah, that was me. That's what I thought.
It's a discarded shoe on the street.
I just don't over Pepsi'd. Pepsi this and the Pepsi that. The Pepsi man must meet the Pepsi woman for the Pepsi challenge. Pepsi. By the way, is it sponsored by Pepsi by any chance? Or
God knows why.
Could they get the word Pepsi in it enough? It's just just get lost.
I mean, I wonder. I don't. I mean, that whole story before the front. It's just crazy. It's just really odd. Really weird.
It's written by Mr. Pepsi from PepsiCo. But no. We need a Pepsi-like story in there. Get the Pepsi on it.
Bob Pepsi man.
Wasn't it a Pepsi and Shirley in it somewhere? Or
yeah, could have done. Could have got them in as a bit of a more cross-promotional nonsense.
More cross-promotional stuff, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. That's the Pepsi Challenge Mad Mix game, or Mad Mix game, the Pepsi Challenge, whatever. Whichever one it is, it's Pepsi-tastic, I suppose. Is all you can say about it.
Yeah, it is.
Pepsi-tastic. That's it. That's our first 3 games for this episode. We're going to take a quick break. We will be back shortly, where we will be talking about singles in the run-up to Christmas, December 1998. So please, Pepsi, stick Pepsi with us, Pepsi. Drink Pepsi. Now, if I could just make it out past Dizzo, I don't think the cops will ever discover this contraband I'm carrying. I'm going to be rich! Wait, oh no, it's a police Viper!
Right, Cobra Mark 3 pilot, let's be having you. What's in the cargo hold then?
Nothing of interest, sir. Just some textiles and willow pattern plates from Lave.
Really? I see some books and audiobooks back there. David Hearn's Case of the Notorious Roboticist, Starfarers and Thanians in Space, and a copy of Back in Time for a Donut.
But I was hungry.
And you've got them in audiobook form and paperback. You know books are illegal in this system. No copy of Escape from the Commodore 64, though.
Well, I could grab it next time and maybe give it to you for your trouble.
On your way then, move along and watch out for Thargoids.
Oh, that was a close one. For more details on cargo just like mine, hyperjump over to davidhearnwriter.com. Now, just a dock at that space station without a docking computer. Are you keeping up? And we're back. We're back with the singles in December 1988, and we have been joined by a very special guest as ever. He's been dressed up as Santa and everything he has for this recording. It is, of course, Mr. Gary Wilson. How are you, Gary? You all right?
Hello. I thought rather than Santa, most people would describe me as an elf.
Well, I wasn't going to say that.
I wouldn't either. I'm too polite, far too polite to say that live.
That's right.
To your face.
Good evening. Good evening.
No, do I ever want to think of or see you wearing tights? Ever.
Again.
Again? What, like you've seen it before?
Yeah, I have. Many times. You know when.
Only in my nightmares.
Sweet dreams. Oh, dear. Anyway, yes, we're joined by Mr. Wilson for his copious knowledge about music and also to help bump up the volume of content here for this the Christmas music, which is a little on the lacking side, shall we say.
Which is odd, consider it's Christmas.
I've been brought in as the patsy then. Brilliant. Thanks.
You have, yeah. You've been here to tell us stories, and just fill up space.
Because you know shit.
Life.
You know shit you can use.
I've wasted my life.
You have. Right, let's get into these singles. Number 1, All Month, Mistletoe and Wine. Cliff
the whole
Richard.
month. The whole month.
All bloody month.
Mistletoe and Wine. What can you say about this, Cliff? Is it Sir Cliff? I think it is Sir Cliff.
It is Sir Cliff.
I think we have to refer to him as Sir Cliff.
Sir Sill.
Friend to the BBC, friend to octogenarians everywhere, friend to tennis court singing.
I forgot he did that, didn't he? It was at Wimbledon, wasn't it? We just started singing in the rain or whatever it was.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
everybody, I'm going to do a little song for you.
Please don't tell me that was a Cliff Richard impersonation. Goodness
In a break
me.
of play, I'm just going to have a little bit of a song.
What? Is he having a stroke?
I don't know. Have you sat on something?
Not recently.
That's true.
But it was crap, really, wasn't it? It was really crap. I mean, the video for this is appalling, and those incredibly cheap VIC-20 style animations that were overlaid were just. What was the point to that? What was the point to those animations?
Because somebody had bought the quick sell paint box at the time, and that's what it was. To be fair, as I said, I think we covered this a week or so back, or a few weeks back. I don't hate this. It's just become synonymous with Christmas these days. It just is what it is. It's become one of those songs.
It is. I get that. I
can't get angry with it. It's just, I just know it. It's like there. It's like it's always been there, and that's a problem. Like there was before Mistletoe and Wine and after, and that's how time is now measured.
BMW.
Before Mistletoe and Wine,
yeah. So it is what it is. I can't get angry at it because I just can't. New singles then, because that's it for your number ones. 4th of December, straight in at number 2, being kept off by Cliff himself, Especially for You by Kylie and Jason.
It's weird, this single, and I find it really quite strange. Like, for example, if you go to the official video on YouTube, about 4 comments down, someone wrote something along the lines of, "This isn't just a song, it is a timeless masterpiece."
Is it initial JD again, like the last time a Jason Donovan song came out?
It's probably the same person who made the comment the other time that I came on this. So who knows? But I love Kylie. Everyone loves Kylie. I'm not too keen on Jason. KLF did a Kylie Said to Jason song. They're kind of cultural, well, less Jason Donovan, more Kylie, because Kylie is Kylie, isn't she? Everyone loves Kylie. But at the heart of it, this song is pretty crap, isn't it?
It's not great. It's very dull. It's very dull. It's really
it's
dull.
So boring.
It's really boring.
It's just like you can imagine there's 1,000 pubs throwing out or nightclubs, and they put it on at the end, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, I've had a snog with Sharon, and I've been to this song," and so on and so on. It's just part of the cultural landscape nowadays. But that doesn't detract from the fact that the song is pretty bad.
It is, but designed, timing wise, for the wedding of bloody Kylie and Jason and their TV alter egos, wasn't it? There's no accident that it came out when it did.
Yeah. What were the names? What were the names in the program?
Charlene and
Scott and Charlene.
Charlene and Scott, mate. Oh yeah.
We'd just like to apologise to our Australian listeners for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't quite know what came over him.
Hopefully it was a pillow.
Hopefully it wasn't Jason Donovan. Anyway, no, but Jason Donovan is spectacularly out of tune in that song, actually, if you listen to it. And he's very flat. Yeah. So, which is odd, considering he went on to have a fairly illustrious musical career in the theatre, didn't he?
He did, yeah. I mean, I know, Gary, that you would much prefer this if it was sang by Angry Anderson, seeing as that we know how much you do like his work.
But they said he was angry, but he seemed quite pleasant, I think. He did. Did he have a bald head? But he looked a little bit charming.
He was quite angry in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
I don't remember him. Yes. I watched that recently. No, I watched Mad Max 2. No, I didn't watch the Thunder. He's in Thunderdome.
Yeah, he's the angry small bald guy who's on the front of the train. He
sings all the time.
yeah, just round singing, especially for you, all the time. We had to tell him, Tina Turner had to tell him, shut up.
Yeah.
This is just a nightmare on set.
We don't need another hero.
We don't.
That was the B-side.
Absolutely. He offered to be a private dancer, but she turned him down.
It's a really strange song for their wedding anyway.
Yeah. Let's move on, especially for you. It's rubbish. In at number 7, Crackers International EP by Erasure. Crackers, I presume, for Christmas crackers?
I get it now. I wondered what that was all about. It was staring me right in the face.
Yes, that's meant to be snow on those branches, by the way.
It looks like someone's had a watery-eyed Tom Hank on the branches.
Oh, I get it now. I get it. Yeah, it's all becoming crystal clear now.
Yes.
It's not. I don't think it's their finest hour. I mean, "Stop" is one of the most recognisable songs, but I don't think it's particularly great. And the other 3 songs of the EP were particularly.
Yeah, She Won't Be Home's not terrible. I don't mind it. It's an okay Christmas song. It's all right. I don't mind that. The Stop video Loads of Andy Bell dancing shenanigans in that one.
He likes it. That's his thing, though, isn't it?
He's all over the place in that one. There's the bend, there's the shake, there's the shimmy, there's everything. All the Andy Bell trademarks are in that one.
All in there.
He started Christmas. It's Christmas. I'm going to present you with a present of every little dancing trope I ever do.
He's clearly had a shandy or two when they recorded that video. And he's gone for it.
Two. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then Vince Clarke's headed to the Christmas tree, as we can see there. In at number 22 is Good Life by Inner City. I didn't listen to this, but this is the one we know in it. Good life, good life.
Good life. Yeah. The one with Good Life in it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's Big Fun.
Good Life.
Big Fun, Good Life. I mean, they are 2 hit singles that Inner City had, and they were pretty. We probably danced to them at the pier or something, you know.
Yes, we did.
You know, they are. Good Life is a particular classic. It's a bit, everybody knows it, and it sold loads and loads of copies around Europe, etc., etc. But the guy behind Inner City was a guy called Kevin Saunderson, who was one of the Belleville Three. Now, Belleville was a suburb of Detroit, and he grew up with a couple of chaps, Derek May and Juan Atkins, and they mixed and DJ'd and had a radio show and were in and out of the bars and the kind of the scene. And they were known as the Belleville Three. And in 1987-88, Virgin Records and a guy, Neil Rushton, asked them to put a compilation together. And that compilation was made up of Detroit music. And they were pottering around for the title of what this particular album would be. And Derek, the guy, Neil Rushton, said to Derek May, well, what do you think it's not house music, because house music comes out of Chicago. And that was more, say, hedonistic, more a bit harder, a bit clubbier, a bit more about kind of hedonism. So Derek May said, well, just call it techno, because we're more interested in the technology. And voila, the genre was born from that particular compilation, which was known as Techno, the New Dance Sound of Detroit, which had one of the Inner City songs, and I think it might be this one. A little bit of truth. And from that, techno took over the world and obviously reached its peak with No Limits, techno with the lovely Maria bouncing around.
If that's the peak of techno, though, just kill us all now.
No, Gary.
No, I like that.
Gary.
It's a bit negative. They went to number 1 in Finland, not the UK though. That song went to number 4, reached the heights of number 4 in the UK.
I didn't buy it.
And there is an amazing house, a Redux house version of this came out in 2000 and something or other, which featured on a whole bunch of sort of, I guess you'd call them garage house compilations at the time. But a couple of the big DJs that were playing the big housey tracks at the time through Radio 1 and stuff put this one on. There was another one called I think it's I Love America, I think, but there's a couple of tracks and the remixes became very big. Yeah,
it's classic. It is one of the, everyone knows it. You put it on, you bounce around to it. It's good. You know, it's not about changing your life. It's just about just having a good time. So well done, Paris Gray, and well done, Kevin Saunderson.
Good vocal on it, yeah. Paris Gray's vocal's good on it.
Well done.
Golf clap. Golf clap.
In at number 23, straight behind Good Life, we have Fine Time by New Order.
Yeah,
I didn't like this. What's the crap effects in this video? What's going on? That capsule, what's all that about? Rubbish.
New Order have done some brilliant videos over the years, and this was one of them.
No, it wasn't.
And I think it's from a particularly good album. I think this is the album when New Order peaked, which was Technique. And I think New Order went to Ibiza in the late 80s. They got completely off their faces. Discovered, they'd already.
Bernard did. Bernard did, and he was the driving force behind their dance stuff, which Peter Hook hated it, and that's why you have.
They'd already kind of taken on board They went to New York in the early 80s.
But they didn't go full on dancey sort of thing, and you can hit through the mid 80s. It was still, I think this has gone. Yeah, I don't like this period. New Order.
I vanished the album Technique Vanishing Point. I remember listening to it on John Peel. That is absolutely bloody brilliant. That's probably my favourite New Order song, which is from this album. But Fine Time's okay. It's not going to change your life or anything. I think everything that came after this for New Order was downhill. I mean, when Hooky left, it's a bit of a. I think New Order are a bit like Kraftwerk, and they're just a tribute to themselves. At this point in time nowadays, I wouldn't. I have no interest. I've got all their albums post that, but I would never put them on.
There's the
they're
one
just a
good
bit
song on
boring.
was it the next album? The one came out about 92, 93?
Republic.
Republic. The one
Yeah,
good track. This Regret, which is a great song.
Regret is great. Regret is very good.
Yeah.
There was a couple of good songs on that album. But, you know, I think with Vanishing Point and Technique, that was their peak. That was their Everest. And then everything else is sloping down to, you know, the lowlands of Lincolnshire.
Holy crap.
Anyway, in at number 31 is Born to Be My Baby by Bon Jovi. I love this.
Good track. Yeah, good
I
track.
love this song. That chorus, when it comes in, it's just top drawer Jovi as far as I'm concerned.
Top drawer Jovi. That's going to be my new catchphrase. Top drawer. Oh, look at that. That's top drawer Jovi. Get in.
Top drawer Jovi.
Oh,
so you've got sing along na na na's at the beginning.
Oh, you've brought chocolate eclairs. That's top drawer Jovi.
Top drawer.
Oh, dear.
Baseline, though, is very similar to Living on a Prayer in the verse, though.
Yeah, same.
I
I mean,
Same
it was bound to be
production
that, you know.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's that phrase.
It sounds very similar. But when that chorus kicks in, it just builds up, and I love it. Love it. It's ace.
Good album, New Jersey. They can't really go wrong. Not for you, Gary, but
No,
everyone else.
you guys played this all the time when we used to sit around. And
I wouldn't say all the time. I think that's an exaggeration.
Yeah,
some of the time.
Some of the time. Okay, some of the time. Occasionally.
The thing with this song is I always forget this song when people ask me what are my favourite Bon Jovi tracks, which happens quite a lot, randomly down the street sometimes. But this is put it right back in there, listening to it again for this. I completely forgot about it. I love this song.
People say the same to me, but I don't know. I listen to it so often in my youth, I've forgotten what it sounded like.
Yeah, I think that was the thing. But I was good to go back. I don't like the video, though. The official video
all
for
the
it.
time. It's terrible.
It's dead annoying when they're all talking through it and there's the bits that's Bon Jovi being Bon Jovi.
It's in the studio, isn't it?
Yeah.
Total studio video made on the cheap, I think, isn't it?
Not happy about that. In at number 40, Christmas Song. Thank you, Christmas Song twinned with Thank You for a Good Year by Alexander O'Neill. That sounds really... Oh, thanks for a good year. Did someone give that higher?
Oh, there were two songs that I only listened to Christmas Song. I didn't listen to the other one.
I listened to Thank You for a Good Year.
I thought, in my mind, it was parenthesis. I thought, Thank You for a Good Year.
No, I think it's a double A side.
I think I
double Alexander side.
I've swerved a bullet. I'm sorry. I'm glad to say that. So
you did, because it's rubbish.
Because that Christmas song was just like... That was like having glass forced up your anus, wasn't it? It was just really bad.
It's not the review he was hoping for.
Considering he's usually quite smooth. That sounds a bit rough.
Oh, God.
We got this one review from this British guy. Says it's like having glass shoved up your ass. Send him a bottle of cheap wine.
Bloody liners.
It sounded to me like the Thank You for a Good Year song sounds like a slowed down Level 42 track.
Which is never a good thing.
No. The Glonk will not be happy with that.
In number 44 is Buffalo Stance by Nana Cherry.
It's only recently that I discovered that it was actually a cover of another song that Nana Cherry sang on by these guys, Jamie J. Morgan and Cameron McVeigh with Nana Cherry. And the song was called Looking Good Diving with the Wild Bunch. Now, the Wild Bunch is a reference to a Bristol scene, which included Massive Attack. They were all kind of known as the Wild Bunch. And obviously, Nana Cherry was in and out of that particular group. And I remember this coming out, and I remember watching the video for this, and I remember thinking Nana Cherry might be just the sexiest woman I've never met. Because I lived in Grimsby at that time, and she just seemed so otherworldly and confident and just attractive and just capable. And you know, she clearly knew what she was doing in the sense that she was in control of her own shit. So even now, how many years later? 35 years later, I think it's still. It's produced by Tim Simonham from Bomb the Bass, which is why she goes, "Come on, Timmy," which is some kind of reference to Tim Simonham. But I think it's bloody brilliant. I love it. There's an extended 12-inch mix where the guitar break goes on for ages. And I love it. I know it's not got a universal appreciation in this house, but I think it's brilliant. And if Nana Cherry, she's still going. Her daughter's now making music under the name Mabel. And I love it.
Was it her daughter that we spoke about last week, the one who she was pregnant with? Because we spoke about she was on top of Pops.
Yeah, she's on top of the Pops.
7 months pregnant.
No, actually, I think this might be another daughter, because this daughter, Mabel, I don't think is older than like 22, 23. So
right, okay.
She bungee jumped with that one. Like on live TV during Top of the Pops.
that got less complaints, strangely enough.
It's just, I never liked the bits where she talks in it, where he goes, "What are you like?" Yeah,
but that's what I found really sexy about that, because I lived in Grimsby and everyone was a bit of a prat. And then there was this
We'd just like to apologise to most of the people of Grimsby.
There was this gorgeous black woman who just seemed just whatever. And obviously, I was swooning a little bit.
Yeah, she was very attractive lady. Very
and still
clever.
is. And still is,
Yeah,
I have to say.
No argument there, but I just didn't like that parts of that track.
Yeah,
Oh, well,
it's all right.
I love it.
It's catchy. It's a catchy tune, but it's all right.
What are you like?
It's all right.
Yeah. I'm glad you never said it like that.
Yeah, I am as well. Very, very glad. I don't think it got very high in the charts.
No.
In at number 52 is "Don't Believe the Hype" by Mr. E. This was awful.
It's terrible, isn't it? I mean, I'm here to be the voice of dance music and so on and so on, but someone just threw some things together, and it was just a cash in to try and get the acid house Summer of Love type thing in the UK.
Whatever it was
crap.
rubbish.
It was crap.
However, it does have now, and this is an appreciation about comes over a certain time where you've used a lot of the hardware and you've used the software that can easily make dance music. Because nowadays you can get a laptop and make dance music in seconds. It's easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Getting the old-fashioned hardware together and creating some of the hard lines and some of the synth lines that go into a track like that, as much as that's not a very good example of it, the actual hardware sounds are really, really nice in there because they're very hard to replicate digitally. Other than using a direct sample, if you don't use a direct sample and you're using some kind of analog hardware, there's nuances to that hardware and that sound that simply are not replicable unless you use hardware. And that makes those early tracks like that quite unique in the way that they're produced. That said, that isn't a very good song overall, but I really dig the hardware.
Yeah, you can like the way that it was produced and stuff. And I get that. I get that totally. It's a bit shameless, isn't it? It's just thrown.
It is, but it's also sort of showing you how the hardware is revolutionizing dance and that it's starting to become a bit easy to do, even at that point.
Absolutely. I mean, you're making records for a couple of £100 nowadays in 1988. I mean, that was the beauty. I think of dance music in the late 80s over, say, the punk explosion. I think it was more democratic than indie music in the late 70s, early 80s with post-punk and post-punk. Is that you didn't need a record label. Sex Pistols were still on Virgin. All those punk bands were all being put on majors. But nowadays, at that point, they were just throwing white labels together. And they would become huge. And it was, to me, it was far more democratic and quicker to get stuff out then.
Exactly.
And I think that's the beauty of dance music is that
that's
electronic music, it gets it out there.
That's how your single got released, wasn't it? Your Can I Borrow a Feeling? Then you did that version of that.
Well, it charted, but
in Albania.
I don't want to talk about it.
We'll put we'll find a copy of the cover of that and put it in the show notes for the speciality of that.
The brown sauce shivers.
I thought you were going to say the brown sauce shimmy.
That's the backing band.
Gary Wilson, the brown sauce shivers.
Can I borrow a feeling?
There is actually a singer in America called Gary Wilson. People are always sending me front of his album cover. Gary Wilson. It's not me, folks. It's not me.
Yeah, because you went under the nom de plume Barry Baritone, as we all know.
I did, yes, exactly.
Yeah. In at number 53, let's get the big guns out here. True Love by Shakin' Stevens.
Bloody awful.
It wasn't good, was it, really?
No, it's not.
How big does he look? I had to grab a screen grab.
That was funny. Indeed.
He's been de-resed. I mean, goodness me, what's happened? His jumper's made the lens explode.
He's got like 10 layers on. He looks like the Michelin Man. He must be really cold in that studio because he's literally he's about 10 foot wide.
He looks like a bauble. It looks like a Christmas bauble, doesn't he, hanging on the tree? A massive one.
And it's not a good song, is it, really? I mean, Shakin' Stevens is what it is. He's having a bit of a comeback, isn't he? Hasn't he just released a song that's like F the Tories type thing and people are picking up on it? He's got a new song out and, he's out there still cracking,
shaking.
He's still shaking. He's still shaking. Yeah. But this song was...
That's his album. It's got to be his album, surely.
Still shaking.
Yeah, it's got to be, isn't it?
Can't stop us shaking.
Yeah, and his compilation would be Shake and Bake, wouldn't it? Or Shake, Rattle and Roll or something. Or I don't really know.
Shaken to the core. Well, it's as I've noted here, this is no Mistletoe and Wine, is it? That's for sure.
No, it's utter because he did his Christmas song. It's been out there, and you can never undo it, and you can't top it, can he? the whatever it's called, the other Christmas song in
I
there.
can't remember what his Christmas song is. Gary, what's
Did he
his
have a Christmas song? Oh,
Yeah,
he's got
Merry
Livingston.
Christmas, everyone.
Oh, he did, yeah, Merry Christmas. And he was doing, I mean, that is obviously
That's
his
okay.
pension,
Again,
isn't it?
I don't mind that. It's become part of Christmas yearly.
You've clearly got a penchant for bloody Christmas songs.
I do
Yes.
have a penchant for Christmas songs.
Like
Crap ones.
crap ones, yeah. Crap ones.
I think the thing is because they put me in
the compilation album.
They put me in the Christmas mood. So I like being in the Christmas mood, That's
Well,
what
yeah,
it
because you
is.
can't rely on TV, as we said last time. You can't rely on TV.
No, you
When
cannot.
you've got Jagged Edge on TV to watch.
on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
What are you watching? I'm just watching some man murder his wife in bed by the knife really harshly.
Yeah,
Happy
let me cheer you up. Put Shaking Stevens on. He looks like a giant bauble.
Oh, I'm in a bloody Christmas mood now. Get the sherry out.
Exactly.
Soft
we love.
focus is ridiculous on that.
I think it's
Ridiculous.
just really low res, but it could be. But although it might not have been shot that
That's
way,
how he
I
is
don't
in
know.
reality. That's if you see him.
He
That's
can't be
just how he
well,
appears.
Well, you can't get a clear shot of him because he's always shaking.
I was going to say that's why. Yeah,
He's all shook up too much.
He's
the lens
always
was just
shaking.
too slow for his shaking, and that's caught
Yeah,
him
exactly.
mid-shake.
He's
yeah.
shaking so fast. He's like an atom. We're just perpetually moving.
Blurring Stevens.
No aperture can catch him.
No, it's just a blur. That's why he's perfect for armed robbery. 'Cause,
What did he look
goes
like?
in,
I can't tell you.
I couldn't tell you.
shaking
It was
too much.
like a red giant blur.
Stevens, we know it's you. We just can't
We
prove
know
it.
it's you. We can't prove it's you. Your fingerprints are all blurry and everything.
Haha, Merry Christmas as he shakes out the station. In at number 54 is Love Never Dies by Belinda Carlisle.
My love for Belinda will never die, but this
Well,
song
with that
is
song.
a bit boring.
Yep.
Oh, God, it was so dull.
Boring. And the video boring as well.
Boring,
Just-
What
boring.
did they say with the other
cheap
video she released for the last track? Did they just film a load of the songs at a concert she did?
I think
and
they must
that's
have
it?
done.
Well, there was a concert video. Well, actually, sorry, concert laserdisc that came out, and that was on it because I remember it. It got heavy rotation in Richard's house. There's one of our other
Oh,
friends.
yeah, particularly late at night when he got into bed.
Exactly. Yes, he was producing his own, Christmas mistletoe and such.
Ended up like that Crackers International cover. Do you think that because of looking at the last two videos that maybe they weren't, because we had obviously Heaven is a Place on Earth, but they weren't quite ready that she was going to be quite so popular maybe?
No,
And
I think that's a good point, actually.
And so maybe it was doing like, oh crap, get more singles out quick. Well, we've got the
Yeah.
slide video, just stick that on, that'll do.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That she became, very big very quickly.
Because was
and
this in
probably
Circles in the
surprised.
Sand, wasn't there?
Yeah, good video
Which
of
were-
that one.
Which would be.
Yeah, I mean, I think when she did, was the album Runaway Horses was the next one, wasn't it? And I
Yeah.
think they obviously put a lot more money into that. So the budget, I think, a lot of the time they make all the videos, they know all the singles, and they make them all within the space of a week. And then obviously they get released over the course of 18 months, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's probably what they did. So it's
She was especially popular in the UK as well. Which some of these acts sometimes are like that. Aren't
She was
they?
very
really
popular with me,
yeah.
I can say that.
very
She was popular with Gary's gym socks. That's for sure. Got through about 6 packs a week.
Yeah, well, sorry about that.
You damn near rubbed the Nike logos off the edge.
Oh man,
Yeah.
we're hemorrhaging listeners. And at number 61 is Requiem by the London Boys.
Do you know what? I actually really like this song. I remember
Yeah.
my mum
Yeah.
played
I
the London
don't.
Boys for some bizarre reason quite a bit. And I haven't listened to it for like 20, 30 years. And actually, when I listened to it again the other day, those little happy faces they've got in the video.
I mean, they certainly
Yeah.
look happy. Yes, they do look
And
happy.
it's a high energy track that
Yeah.
came out of the gay clubs and crossed over into the mainstream. And they had two big songs, I think. I can't remember what the other one was.
The other wasn't the other one? That was London Nights and the Party Nights and the
it was
Beaver
basically the
Drive.
same track. It was the same track with change of lyrics. And they were all like that. And I love a bit of high energy, dig, 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 dig,
You've
dig,
always
dig.
enjoyed it in a very low energy way, but yeah.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
high energy, man.
I love high energy. The whole kind of, my wife says I'm a gay man in a straight man's body type business.
Who said
And-
that?
Who says that?
My wife did.
Wow, is
It's
that on your
lovely.
birthday card or something? Christmas card.
No, it was
So
on his cake.
I love a bit
It was
of
a
high
really
energy.
big cake.
You've always loved your high energy.
I love a bit of high energy. When you look back at, my musical choices, a lot of them come from, like, House came out of gay clubs, and obviously so did Requiem by the London Boys. And it's a shame that they had to die in a car crash, really, wasn't it, in 96?
Yes,
including
tragedy.
there was 5 people killed in the car crash, a wife of one of them, and the other driver, who was a drunk driver, and some other fella. So yeah.
I presume he was drunk while driving, not a drunk driver, because then it would have been a bit foolish to get in the car with him if that was his reputation.
Yeah, the guy who slammed into them was the drunk driver.
Oh right, okay.
It's a tragedy.
It was in the Alps somewhere in Austria or something, and so that's why we haven't heard much from them anyway. But anyway, we'll always have the memories, guys. Always have the Camp High Energy tracks. I love the dancing.
I didn't remember this at all.
You don't remember it? My bloody mother had it on all the time.
They are Stock Aitken and Waterman, aren't they? Produced, I think, these guys.
Probably. Don't know.
More than likely.
I think they are, only because they sort of got a reputation, didn't they, for the appropriation of gay culture and music into the mainstream. Yeah, so Stock Aitken Waterman did, because of things like Dead or Alive, and they sort of high energied their way into. In fact, a lot of the early hits were high energy. They tracks.
were, I mean, Hazel Dean, and a lot of their stuff is basically camp. It's high energy, inflected.
They did that.
Stock Aitken and Waterman, they knew what they were doing. But then again, they weren't alone. You can track back lots of lineages back to the gay clubs, to be honest.
Yeah, totally. But they just hit the chart heavily with everything at this time.
They did, yeah.
Number 78, a little bit different. Radio by Spear of Destiny. No surprise I like this, because I like this period of Spear of Destiny.
Jury punk crap, of course you do.
There you go. Great chorus. Really uplifting chorus. Don't know what you're on about.
I didn't really, like I said before, we said about Spear of Destiny, I like the wheel, and that's probably about it. And I don't know. This song just washed over me like nothing.
It's all right. I mean, I like this, but it is what it is. Yeah.
I think
punky stuff for those that like the punky stuff.
He's still going, isn't he? What's his name?
Kurt Brandon.
Kurt Brandon. Yeah, he's still going. He's still touring.
He is.
So good luck to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Not good luck to this person. No, number 87 is My Prerogative by Bobby Brown.
Awful.
I don't think, when I watched the video and my YouTube came up with the lyrics on it, and I kind of realised that the song was about him telling everyone he's going to be an arsehole and they can just put up with it. I never really clicked on that. The whole bloody... And obviously that transplanted itself into his real life. So he was obviously a scumbag of a man.
Yep. Let's say no more about him.
Yep.
11th of December, in at number 10 is The Angel of Harlem by U2.
Ooh, this song.
All those horns. As soon as those horns came in, I'm out. I'm out.
I hadn't listened to this for a while, and it's not my favourite U2. I only really, that period I wasn't too keen, but I didn't realise it was so influenced by Stax Volt and that kind of Memphis sound, and the music of the Deep South, and
yep,
it's
heavily influenced.
I love Stax Volt. I prefer Stax Volt as a label over Motown, but. This is a bit boring, wasn't it?
Yeah, really boring.
It's an awful cacophony of dreary warbling and preachy guff. Would be my review. And I don't like ones where because it borrows, the horns of the dip 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 dip. It's them kind of horns all the way through. It's like, just go credit the songs that you've ripped them off for, you bloody rip-offs. There's a lot of better songs out there that use that kind of sound better than this. Awful.
Yeah, it's trudging into what we've been saying about like blandcore stuff with its stabby horn.
Yes.
So, not for me. In at number 43 is Yeah, 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 Yeah by the Pogues. I didn't like this, but what you noted here, Gary, actually struck a chord. Precursor to UK indie pop in early 90s, like Ocean Colour Scene.
I was quite surprised at that, and I've not heard an awful lot of...
so was Shane McGowan.
It also reminded me of, as I noted here, Primal Scream's Rocks.
Yeah, the whole kind of it prefigured a lot of that kind of early 90s indie stuff, which was quite surprising. And, we always think of the Pogues of the Christmas song.
Absolutely.
So
That's all I like, man.
But this, it wasn't terrible. It was just kind of it's okay. But not going to change your life or anything, but,
Is that your catchphrase for the podcast?
That's it. It's not life-changing.
Didn't like it, Graham?
No, the thing with the Pogues is that this isn't really the direction I suspect the Pogues really want to be. They're a really odd band for that. And so this just is, I think at this point they'd pretty much given up on anything that'll make money and hire a goddamn dentist. Because obviously Shane McGowan, the front man at this point, his teeth look like an abandoned cemetery.
He's just how God made him.
No, he's not. It's just how Sherry made him. Or
Yeah, well, he's obviously got problems, and several of them.
Yeah.
But
He's still around though, isn't he? He's still alive.
yeah.
He
I
hasn't
mean, he's
locked
been
himself into a.
No, he was
really grave,
sober
isn't
and then drunk and sober then drunk and.
At least at least he's real. Even if this was a crap interlude of their career, you've got to give respect to the Pogues for doing.
I lump
what they
him
want to
in
do.
the same
Yeah.
bracket as what's his face from The Fall, Marky Smith.
Smith.
Yeah.
The sort of
Yeah,
similar,
Troubled.
I always
not
thought
musically, but that kind of.
I get
doing-
that. I get
yeah.
that. And I think I always preferred the idea of Marky Smith and the Fall to the reality. And I guess that's a little bit
Everyone did.
the bit to me with the Pogues.
Even Marky Smith did. Number 51 is "Rhythm Is Gonna Get You" by Gloria Estefan and the Miami Sound Machine.
I mean, everyone knows this song, don't they? It's another one of those songs that's
Yeah.
obviously everybody knows it.
This was often on at your house when we went around because your mum liked it.
My mum had it, and I can still see the front cover of the CD.
Yeah.
And
That video.
everybody knows this song, but watching it again, I thought it was just really, really crap.
Yeah, there's too many men in vest giving fist bumps at the start for me.
There is
I was
a
just
lot
like,
of that in it.
just every time it cuts, like some man in the vest going, yeah. Like, go, I'm done. I don't want to watch any more men in fist bumping in vests.
If you slow that track down, it sounds, and I did, so it's not like I haven't. I'm not just saying this. Sounds like Dub Be Good to Me. If you slow
Well,
it
maybe
down.
that's where Norman Cook got his idea from.
It's uncanny how it sounds. In fact,
Yeah,
I would say.
all right,
I'm a white guy from Grimsby. I'm, Gloria Estefan and the shimmying, kind of. When I go to the clubs, I want a 4/4 beat. This is all too complicated for me. It's way too, kind of Latino.
There's too many beats.
There's too many beats. I can't shake my bum like they're doing it in the video. I just can't do it.
Because you're not Shaking Stevens. Only Shaking Stevens can dance to this.
Maybe that's the new single. We should pair Shaky with Gloria. Shaky and
that
Gloria's
should
new
never
single.
be happen. Gloria
it should
Estefan
never
cannot,
happen.
and Shaking Stevens cannot. It'd be like in Ghostbusters with the gatekeeper and the keymaster. It can't be. It can't happen.
Can't happen. We'd release Gozer.
Yeah, and nobody wants that. The rhythm will definitely get you then.
It would be. In at number 60 is "Tied Up" by Yellow.
I mean, Yellow, one of my favourite bands of all time. They're just suitably
they are.
kind of
Wacky.
ironic heroes of mine in the sense that I've been listening to them forever since I was capable of buying CDs and albums. And I'm still, everything that they did up until about 91, 92 is just fantastic. And this song is from their album Baby. And again, though, it's a kind of a Latino, a lot of that whole album is kind of Latino and kind of samba based and more kind of eclectic. And I think at the end of the day, it's an interesting video and it's an interesting song.
I think the word you're looking for there is cheap, Gary. And an interesting.
It was cheap.
It was cheap. It was cheap. Yeah, absolutely.
Even Dieter's shocked at your.
I think
Your appraisal.
cheap can be good sometimes.
Yes,
money can't buy you everything.
I didn't say it wasn't good. I just said it was cheap.
The song rightfully has a good place in. It's in a lot of movies of that time. Yellow appear in quite a lot of movies, especially John Hughes movies, all over the shop. Really.
Yeah, I think I first became really aware of him in that Secret of My Success.
Yeah, they're in that.
That's all over the place in that track. In it, is it the race that's in that all the time? Is it the race that's in that one? Or,
there's loads of them in John
The
Hughes
Michael
movies
J.
all the way
Fox one.
through.
There's a famous scene in Ferris Bueller's that uses
and also in Planes, Trains and Automobiles, of course.
that's I Love You, I think. Yeah.
And I just wondered, actually, Gary, what you thought of the most recent Yellow Jean-Michel Jarre track that came out.
I haven't actually heard it.
Well, goodness me. You said you had everything by Yellow, you liar. Get out and never come back.
Absolutely.
Don't come back until you've redeemed yourself.
Well, I probably have heard it, actually, because was it off one of his... He did 2 albums of collaboration.
Yes, it's the collaboration
Yes,
album. It's the one with Brick England on, which he did with Pet Shop
Yeah, I
Boys.
probably heard it. I can't remember it, but he did... I love the idea of
I think it's What's Up, Where and Why or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but that's something like that.
What was fantastic about those albums, and they weren't brilliant albums, but Jean-Michel Jarre just went for a bit of a wander. He just wandered around the UK, France, America, just recording with people like Moby, Chemical Brothers.
He did.
And all kinds of oddballs. And, good luck to him.
Good if you can do that.
Yeah.
Nice. Good for him.
Good old Yummy Yah.
Yummy yell yeah.
Yummy, yummy, yeah.
Yummy yell yeah. And that was Jello. In at number 71 is "Baby Don't Forget My Number" by Milli Vanilli.
I think they forgot the song, didn't they?
Yes.
There's nothing to it.
No, it's dreadful.
Awful.
Dreadful.
I just don't get it. Love is stronger than thunder. And they force rhyme that with obviously number. It was like...
Technically, it doesn't.
Well, no, it doesn't. No, I know it doesn't. But they'd sing it anyway to try and shoehorn a rhyme in some Euro.
They could have gone for the Gloria Estefan crossover and used the word rumba somehow. That would have, at least that rhymes with number. Rumba.
Oh,
Yeah, rumba,
God,
number.
it was bad. It was
Go
bad.
for a Mario crossover with a
Don't
gumba.
forget my number. Repeat.
Yeah, God, that was. I'm sure that was Milli
apologise,
Vanilli.
listeners, for whatever that noise was.
What happened there? Milli Vanilli broke.
I mean, we talked about Milli Vanilli before, didn't we? That the fake band put together
Boney
by
M.
type producer Fabio. And it's a load of old crap, isn't it?
Yeah, that particularly is, yeah.
Number 86, John Ketley is a weatherman by a tribe of Toff.
I principally remember this song because of the barge.
Yeah, it was played a lot. But I mean, I went and watched the video for this. They made this video on this TV show, and they were only 18. They're just a bunch of 18-year-olds. They just got up, and I think for a bunch of 18-year-olds, this is bad, really. And I said it's like a sort of knockdown British End of the World as We Know It by R.E.M. It's just a list of people. It also got the lyric "Richard Keys has got no knees," which made me laugh quite a lot. I don't know why. I like this. I don't mind this. I think it's a fun little whatever.
It's not terrible.
It's kind of like set up as one of those songs that we all know.
Yeah, it's clearly aimed at the British one-hit wonder. The inevitable British one-hit wonder market.
You imagine that they get like 72 pence a month in Spotify fees.
Exactly, but John Ketley.
Good luck to them.
John Ketley, he hates it.
He hates it, does he?
That's because he's a curmudgeon.
Well, what a miserable bastard.
He wrote an entire article on how much he hates it and how he hopes that a small force tornado happens upon all of the people that were in that band and that it whisks them off to another world. No, I'm paraphrasing a long read. He didn't say any of that really at all. Just paraphrasing. I'll put a link to his website in compensation for that. We'll put a link to his website, which there is. I'll put a link to that.
John Ketley's got a website. John Ketley's got a website.
So is Michael Fish.
There you go. It's so easy to do this, isn't it? John Ketley's got a website. John Ketley's got a website. John Ketley's got a website.
It's not quite so easy, is it, Gary?
It's not quite so easy. I'd also, told you before, no more singing.
No.
Give me 5 minutes. I'll have a hit.
No. But I do remember Good Times in the Barge with that song.
Exactly. Very good times. Because it was paired with, what's his face? Jilted John, innit? That was the other one.
In my mind, they're actually... And Jilted John is actually bloody brilliant.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It is bloody
very
brilliant.
Good.
Yes.
18th of December, in at number 36 was Evening Falls by Enya.
Yeah.
I don't understand why this was released as a single. Why would you buy? You would just buy the album, surely. I mean,
Surely you could just say that about everything.
Yeah, I get that, but why would you do it? No one is going to sit there and go, "I'm going to put the 7-inch of."
Well, people did because it got to number 36.
Well, evidently, yeah, but it's just weird. I just don't get it. I mean, just go and buy the album and get another 9 tracks.
It's weird, and I don't get it. Is the prevailing thought of most of Enya's output? To be fair.
Yeah,
like Enya has something of a cult following around the world, and she's made her fortune. And good luck to her, with her whimsical little. And I actually quite like Enya. I've got quite a lot of her albums and stuff. And,
you would do, but you can say that about any artist.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I like Enya, and I particularly like. I remember I think was it you, Graham? We went to watch The Green Card with Gerard Depardieu.
Yes, we
and
did.
Andy McDowell. And there's a lot of Enya in that film. And I rewatched a bit of Green Card the other day, and it is actually really good.
Yeah, it's like we said last time we spoke about Enya. I mean, firstly, I can see why it would appeal to you because there's no lyrics you have to remember, is there? So it's just straightforward sound effects, really. But secondly, I mean, I get it. She's a very innovative woman in that particular time doing good womany stuff in an industry that was predominantly dominated by not women. And I get the clever producer writer thing because she is apparently a very adept musical technician, so that's all good. But I think the problem is that a lot of the tracks that she became quite famous for are the ones that have haunted her forever, and she's never really got to shake them out. The Sail Away and the Boudica and stuff. She's just never shook those. So people go, oh yeah, remember that Boudica? And there's albums. I think she's done loads of albums, but
she has done loads of albums.
But nobody will remember her for those albums. They'll remember
Orinoco Flow
Orinoco Flow, or
it's crap. It is one of the worst things she's put out. It's not
but that's what she's remembered for, though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, but there's a lot. If you dive in a bit further, you can find some better stuff.
You can. You know what? And she would have told you more than you know, Gary, if only you spoke Havitos. So. Anyway.
Hakana Matusa, Husita.
And that's actually going by in any album in Havitos. You won't know that, Gary. You don't speak that language.
You don't speak Havitos.
You don't speak like we do,
no,
like what we do.
You just speak Hovis.
This has completely just lost me completely.
Exactly, because you don't understand Havitos.
You don't speak Havitos.
Look, it's connected. Surely you realise this now.
In at number 54 is Soulmate by the Wee Papa Girl Rappers.
Boring.
It was boring, and we've spoke about the Wee Papa Girl Rappers before, and they're great. Well, fair play to them, but this was a single too far.
Boring.
In at number 57 is Love Like a River by Climby Fisher. This sounded like a Belinda Carlisle song, I thought. I could imagine Belinda Carlisle singing this.
Don't they all?
Well, maybe. I think there's a lot of cross similarity, but this one in particular, I think if I put Belinda Carlisle's voice on it, it's quite rocky in for a Climby Fisher track.
Maybe.
It didn't do anything for me. I was quite surprised. I love Love Changes.
Yeah,
it's
great
brilliant.
Song.
Absolutely
It is a great
brilliant.
song. Yes.
And this was just. I was like, oh God, this is going to be good. Oh God, I'm losing the will to live. It's so boring. And I didn't realise that one of them is dead, obviously. Died of cancer at the end of the 90s.
Like the Spinal Tap. He's dead. He's dead. They're dead.
Dead, yeah.
They're dead. He died.
Did you know that one of the Climbers wrote the George Michael Aretha song, I Knew You Were Waiting for Me?
Really? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that, no. Which one?
I'm sure.
Did it Climby
Before
or
he
Fisher?
died, obviously.
I'll tell you who it is. It was Simon Fisher.
Ooh, get him.
Get him.
Well, there you go. So no more.
Dear.
Here we go. In at number 93 is Man in the Moon by Voice of the Beehive. This was a bit bland, wasn't it?
It was so boring.
Interesting group, not a very interesting song.
No.
I tried to find something interesting about this group and this song, and I literally I couldn't. I'm sorry.
No, don't worry.
Curious.
Just boring.
Finally, ran out this week. Number 98, The Runner by Yanama.
Janama.
Yanama.
Do you know, I know this track, and when I listened to it, I remember it kind of came back to me. It's obviously a kind of a new agey instrumental thing that Jan Hammer became famous for. Because Jan Hammer was actually quite a proficient musician. He was been around since the early 70s playing with the Mahavishnu Orchestra and various kind of super groups and stuff. And one of the tracks that Jan Hammer played on with Jeff Beck was the theme music to The Tube. Which,
well, fancy
once you
that.
get to know it, if you hear it, you'll know what it is. But this was all right. It's like background porno music, isn't it?
Well, you've linked to the Milk advert with Bob Geldof, who which I had completely forgotten. But as soon as I watched that video, I was like, oh, I recognise that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I
as soon as I heard it, I'm like, Milk advert.
Yeah, and when I listened to it, I was like, oh yeah. And then that line, what he says at the end, you must be right, shattered or whatever. At the end, I remember. I was like, I recognise.
It's that guy when he comes off his milk, like, oh yeah, what are you doing, mate? Get off my milk.
Oh, he goes, yeah, right, shattered. Milk gives you bottle.
Yeah, that's it. Milk gives you bottle.
Yeah, gives you bottle.
Gives you bottle.
Gives you bottle.
It was better than get bottled.
Yeah, exactly.
Better than get milked.
Or is it?
Maybe not. I thought this sounded like a crap Bruce Hornsby song without the singing and meatballs.
Yeah,
The singing
I'd
and
agree with
meatballs.
that. Yeah. Bruce Hornsby is a band full of meatball heads.
Yeah. If you've not been listening to the podcast, we've discovered that
anyone
Bruce
who listens
Hornsby
to the
and the
podcast
Range,
would know this, Gary. This is terrible.
We know that Bruce Hornsby and the Range is just made up by a team of people whose heads look like meatballs.
Yeah, meatball heads.
I can show you the pictures to prove it. Is this the last one? No, we've got two left. 25th of December, there was a chart. Obviously, people released singles this week. In at number 76 is Tender Hands by Crispy Burger. I don't think he's got tender hands.
I think he's got two hands like everyone else.
I think I've got a bit of a soft spot for
He's got hands you need to put an offer in for. I'll put a tender in for him. I'll tender. What's your tender?
I quite liked it, I have to say. I liked it. And then when I watched the video, and it cracked me up because they had this gorgeous woman kind of pottering around the flat, getting ready or whatever. And then she notices the TV, and Krista Berg is on the TV, and she's like, oh my God, Krista Berg's on the telly. And then she's getting dressed, and for some reason she pours water over her head, and obviously to kind of glisten up the cleavage type business. And
did you say anyway, to glisten up?
Glisten up, meatball.
Just to kind of give that kind of
I feel like a bit
effect.
of a glisten. I'll just pour a bucket of water off my head.
What kind of crazy woman would pour water over her head?
So I was
they all
watching
do
it
to glisten up, Graham. I'm surprised your wife doesn't do that.
Washing her hair aside, yeah, she never does anything other than glisten up.
And then you've got this gorgeous young woman in her probably like mid-20s. And then I'm thinking, don't get together with Crispy Burger. He must be about 50 at this point. And they only bloody went, and then she did. She hooked up with Crispy Burger in the restaurant at the end. I was in absolute apoplexy. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. She was holding hands, those tender hands with Crispy Burger.
It's just a pop video.
This gorgeous young woman is dating Crispy Burger.
It's just a pop video.
What's going on?
What did you feel like when you watched, Uptown Girl by
Krista Brinkley?
Krista Brinkley and Billy Joel. You must have been like,
that's fair enough.
Must have popped.
Yeah, but that
wasn't his head.
Billy Joel's vaguely talented, and is kind of vaguely attractive in that kind of kind of like Italian looking, isn't he? Nuance Bronx kind of Italian guy. You know what I mean? And but Crispy Burger with his eyebrows.
Yeah, his eyebrows.
No self-respecting young attractive woman is going to hook up with Crispy Burger and his
eyebrows.
The lady in red did.
The story about the lady in red eventually came out that apparently it wasn't for his wife, it was for someone else, allegedly.
Whatever. He's got massive eyebrows and they're stupid.
And he looks, I've corrected it, he doesn't look like a Shadmuck, he looks like a Maddie.
Yes, yeah, he's definitely on that chart, that's bloody for sure.
But I have to say, I actually quite like the song in the end.
Oh,
no, it's a dreary song. And do you know...
I liked it.
The idea, Gary, the view, and now we've entertained far more of this with you looking at TV with pop women on. This explains why all of your socks had holes on the sides.
In at number 89, finally, just to round out the month, This Is Acid by Morris.
Acid!
Maurice. This is one of Chicago's finest. I've always loved this track. The track that charted was a remix that was a bit noisy. It was a bit kind of full of samples and a bit kind of, I don't think it really worked. But the classic This Is Acid single, the American version, is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, way better. Way better.
I remember taping it off John Peel in 88. I remember thinking, my God, what is this? And it is a very good example of Chicago house.
I would have thought the same thing, but with different intonation. My God, what is this? Probably.
It was good. It is good. That is a very good track.
Not my cup of Tetley.
No, I know it's not. Yeah.
There we go. That's it. That's the singles. That went on quite a while, actually, longer than I thought. That's the singles for December 1988. We're going to go take a quick break. Thank you, Gary, for joining us. You got any last words you wish to say about the singles for Christmas 98?
No, this is...
Sorry, 88. Mostly... Sorry, 1998.
Yeah, but it wasn't a classic month, was it?
Not really. No, not much going on there. Crispy Burger. Right, yeah, so we're going to go take a quick break. We'll say goodbye to Gary because he's not reviewing the games with us. We'll be back. I think we've got 4 more games still to get through. So if you please stick around, we'll get through them in a bit. Prestinum on course. I'm almost there, ready to deliver David Hearn's books, including Back in Time for a Donut and The Case of the Notorious Roboticist, to a bookstore near you. Let's just bypass Targ and...
Oi! Where's that copy of Escape from the Commodore 64 you promised me? Dave's latest book.
Oh, not you again. I thought I lost you outside Gamma 5. Hey, did you just fire at my ship? Says I've got some conflict damage.
I'll give you conflict. Looks like your Nova Drive is shot. Literally. Tragic, that.
Computer says I'm on a collision course with Targ.
Options, you can crash into Targ, and it just so happens I'm also the mayor, so straight to prison for you, or you can give over that last copy of Dave's latest book.
Yeah, in exchange for what?
Let me see. Aha! I've got a spare Nova Drive back here. How about that?
Okay. I can't do mercenary again. Deal. Dave's latest book, Escape from the Commodore 64, is all yours. There.
Oh, I love the cover. There's Psi-Droid, Impossible Mission, and Law of the West. Get your own copy. You're not having mine at davidhearnwriter.com.
Can I ask a quick question, though? How would you keep me in a prison that only has lines for walls? And we are back. Hope you enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. Always is with Mr. Wilson. We've got 4 more games still to get through, Graham. So let's crack straight into them. And you have the pleasure of becoming Captain Blood. What's that like?
Captain Blood. This was from Infogrames, copyright Infogrames. It was produced by ERE Informatique, which is a team of people. Scenario was written by Philippe Ulrich. The software and graphics by Didier Bouchon. The music was Jean-Michel Jarre in every version but this one. But we'll put his name on anyway.
Yeah.
The C64 adaptation was Francois Lyonnais, and the extra graphics were Michel Rowe. It's quite a team they've assembled there of people. So there's a little bit of a story arc to this, which I'll sort of pressy. It got 77% in Zap. It was a $9.95, I think, disc version they reviewed, disc version that we had.
Yeah.
I don't know that it ever came out on tape. I can't see how it would work, really. But anyway.
Good now.
So in the game, this is a bit strange, because it says in the Zap review, Bob Morlock is also known as Captain Blood. But it says in the actual game instructions that no one knew his real name.
I think they just made it up.
So I don't know where they got that from. Anyway, so Bob Morlock, also known as Captain Blood, that was his kind of computer network alter ego. I think Neo, the Matrix, and you're not far off. Captain Blood wanted to create the ultimate video game, one that was massive in scope and had a mind of its own, and so set about doing so, being bored of all the other games that were out, all the shoot-'em-ups and all the dull ones. He programmed the world, I would say universe, I would use the word universe, not the word world, but okay, of Hydra. Hail Hydra! And filled this world, or universe, with a shed load of planets, 14 unique intergalactic races, each with their own language and social systems, etc., and handily something called the UPCOM, which is the Universal Protocol of Communication Device, which I'll cover a little bit. So, and that allows a system of communication to exist between all the species using icons, good old friendly icons. Not only that, the captain added hyperspace as a way to travel between systems with a space warp. In the middle of that, he finally added a hero. Every good game needs a hero. Who he named Captain Blood, of course. So the game was ready, everything's set, hits the run button, and pop, something goes wrong. Things didn't go quite according to plan, and Captain Blood ended up being sucked into the world of Hydra, Tron style. He was now the Captain Blood of the game, and worse still, the transfer process, which, by the way, works perfectly with oranges, split his genetic code into 5 clones and scattered them around the universe of Hydra. Now, with your withered body and sitting inside a spaceship, you're hovering over the planet of Corpo 1, looking for Andanyanti. I don't know what that all means, but that's what you do.
No one does.
Why are you withered? I heard you ask. Well, the impact of the genetic code being cloned and shattered is clear. You are slowly running out of precious fluid, and you need to find the 5 clones, store them in your frigitarium, or fridge, as I like to call that, and eventually reassemble yourself within the time limit, because otherwise your ship gradually replaces your wailing body parts, your failing parts, with robotronics. And so eventually you will be turned completely tech, and you will be a techno person, and will be a human, whatever you are, no longer. So that's the plan. Search through the 32,768 planets on your hunt for your clones, or information leading to the location of the clones. To do this, you must use your power and capabilities of the Oryx, that's OORXX, which are landing craft. You can use these to check into planets looking for any intelligent life, which you can then use the UPCOM with to communicate. If they know anything, they might be inclined to give you location coordinates of a planet with life on it. Or otherwise, maybe there's a clone there. Otherwise, if you don't use this system and get the coordinates off people, it's eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and that ain't going to work very long. I'll tell you, it won't work very well. No. So you're against the clock, and the mission is vast and challenging. So that's essentially the game.
Okay.
The game is played out over a number of screens and kind of mini games, I suppose, mini sequences, hopefully leading to the coordinates or indeed a clone. Get all the clones before the time runs out, and you'll win. The initial action of your spaceship is controlled by a single view with your coordinates in the UI at the top. A view window of the nearest planet underneath that, and a display panel interface at the bottom, which has a series of buttons and options that will light up according to which you have at the time on any given screen. Normally there's 6 options, but they can vary in which ones you can select depending on what you're doing. From here, you can choose to activate the landing OORX, the ORX, but you can press the planet destruct activator to destroy the planet completely, or you can use the geophoto vision to check the planet for any missile placements and zoom in. Or you can even use your galaxy sort of navigator if you want to go and sort of zoom somewhere else and hyperspace somewhere else. I wouldn't recommend that you do that, though, initially. You'll probably want to blow up a planet, which you will do that because everyone does it this game. And you have to do it carefully because, A, if you've got anything you need, that's trouble is you've obviously just blown it up. And B, they're permanently gone. So if you blow a planet up in this game, it is gone. And that's it. So if there was anything useful, say one of your clones, you've just sealed your own fate. Thing I will recommend if you're going to play this, do not blow up the first planet that you're in front of, because that is inhabited and you will need to land on that in order to speak to somebody or some creature to get the next coordinates. If you don't do that, you're playing Galaxy Roulette, I'm afraid, after that. So when you start the game, the planet nearest you is inhabited, so you can start your mission to get the coordinates for the next place and begin the quest. So launching one of your unlimited supply of orcs means you enter the flying landing section of the game. Here, the view changes to a 3D-ish, not dissimilar to those early LucasArts games, sort of view of flying and navigating a landscape on the search for a landing site. It's not as good as those, and it's in a smaller window, but it's kind of that kind of look sort of, I guess it's kind of landscape view, if you-ish. You've got a crosshairs, so you can change and redirect your course. You can speed up with the joystick controls and slow down, and you can sort of maneuver yourself-ish through the sort of caverns that you're meant to do it. It's a bit weird, and it feels like a bit uncontrolled, and it's a little bit hit and miss, really, that. Anyway, so once you've got set down the bottom of that, once you go through, and the levels seem to go on for ages sometimes as well, you'll find a landing site. When you land, you will be taken to an area where you'll find somebody to communicate with, hopefully, or nothing. There might be nothing there, but on the first one, you will find somebody to communicate with, and then that will appear, and then you get to use the fantastic upcom device. So sometimes when you're trying to speak to the creatures, they will try and communicate with you. Sometimes it's a bit like broken. So the range of icons appears, and you click the little mouth button, and then it will translate the icons into a kind of a semi-sentence for you. And the sentences kind of make sense-ish, but they're in broken English. So, me friendly ? Or you friendly, and me scared spaceship. That kind of thing you can sort of get. And eventually you've got to try and talk them into giving you something, either hopefully a set of coordinates, or maybe even a direction to where the next clone, or they might find a clone. So you're on a hunt for clues, really. So like I said, sometimes they're helpful, sometimes they're not. Depends on the species and how far you get into the game. Sometimes they try and give you tricks and send you on wild goose chases, which you don't need in this. But the idea is that you can talk to them by selecting from a range of icon tiles which represent words, and then you piece these together to form sentences. And so you can sort of start to formulate a sentence with them. Hovering over them reveals the English, which I chose at the start of the game, by the way. You choose your language for this, out of French, English, and I think German. But either way, obviously it highlights the words, and then you can piece together to get a sense of a conversation, the tone, when you respond with the right icons. There is a full guide to all of the icons in the instructions. Hopefully the coordinates will eventually lead you to something more useful than what I got half the time, which was a proposal for marriage on these 2 occasions, which was a bit weird. Anyway, once you've done that and you get the coordinates, you can go back to your spaceship, and then you can navigate using the galaxy map. The galaxy map is where you can essentially navigate between the worlds and the places in the game, and you use coordinates. Now, they are XY coordinates, and, well, space is generally known for having more than 2 dimensions, I would say. So it's a bit weird that you use XY in a place that's predominantly XYZ. And it's actually XYZ and time as well, but never mind all that. We're playing on the 2D plane here. So I'll let that go. Anyway, as you move your withered pointy finger around, coordinates will light up. And obviously you can then hyperjump to these, and then you go through the same landing, checking process randomly, checking on this thing, avoiding missiles if they're fired at you, that kind of thing. It doesn't vary from generally those sort of screens. So that's really what the game is, that kind of quest. Find a planet, land on the planet if it's landable, blow it up if you want to, but land on it and look for your clone if it's there, or at least get the coordinates to somewhere else where there might be a clone. And it's that, repeat. So that's the game. Find an inhabited planet, speak to the locals, get info, and hopefully find your clones before you get turned into a robot. That's it. The game graphics vary a lot with this, especially in the C64 version. They're obviously not as good as the 16-bit versions. It was quite well known on the Amiga and the ST, this is one of those games that everyone kind of looks up and went, ooh, pretty. And there are some nice details on the C64 one. The UI is quite nice looking. The details on the planet and the universe view are quite good in the way that it's played out. It's not as good as the 16-bit one, but it isn't that bad. It gets a bit less detailed on the planets, though. It starts to get bitty there, and the graphics get worse. And when you're sort of talking to the aliens, it's not very good. A bit smudgy. And the interfacing of the aliens with the upcom very quickly frustrates with joystick control, which is one of the big problems with this game. The screens on the spaceship are probably the best ones. Does have a nice feel. But it is, again, let down by the joystick control, and this is a game that's not really configured for joystick control point and click. This is clearly configured for mouse control, and it suffers massively because of that. It makes the selection parts of the game tiresome. So moving pointer around and clicking on the buttons because it moves a little bit too quick with the joystick and it's too responsive, you tend to overshoot what you're trying to click on all the time, let alone the selection of the icon tiles for using the upcom, which is a really frustrating experience. Because you keep overshooting them, you can't find the right one, you've got to scroll all the way to the left and all the way to the right in this big long row of tiles. I'm sure there would have been a much better way of creating a communication system like that, and a load of other games have done it better. Even if you just use a little word wheel or something to keep it simple, it would have been way better to use the joystick as a control of something that you go through options with, a menu options, as opposed to moving a mouse around with all your options on the screen. That's great for a mouse, not so good for joystick, and it suffers in this game. So I found that was a real big problem for me with this. The music is okay. It's nothing amazing, though. And none of the Jean-Michel Jarre stuff's here. It's all on the 16-bit stuff. It uses it's basically Zuluk on the Amiga and ST version, but it's not here at all. It's this weird squeaky thing. I don't know. The sound effects are less obvious. Leaves a lot of the game audio in this. You don't have this. It's speech and everything on the Amiga and the ST version. In this, none of that's here. So it's quite silent, which is quite atmosphere killing. It doesn't feel like it's got a very ethereal sci-fi atmosphere or anything like that without all those background sounds. At the end of all this, it's a 16-bit D-port, really, this, and it shows. It's an okay attempt at its heart, I guess, and the story is pretty interesting in of itself, but the lack of a mouse control for this, it hurts this version massively, massively, massively. As does the lack of atmosphere. What you end up with is something that is a bit over weird, quirky and odd-looking, interesting in that way, I suppose, and a good, if daunting, mission, but all feels a tad clumpy with that horrible joystick control. Nice ideas here. Each play of the game is unique as well, as the locations of the clones of the planets, etc., all move around every time you restart the game. So every game is unique, which is a nice thing. So playing this, you'd need to keep an extensive notes, and you can save the progress of the game you're on, so you can reload that one, but if you die, then that game's dead, and you've got to start again, and then you need to do a new save. So all is not lost, but I don't know. Is there enough here to keep you interested in this 8-bit version, or will you just end up blowing up a couple of planets to see that effect and then bouncing right off the game? I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, pretty much the same. It's a strange one, isn't it, Captain Blood? And it's one I always more associate with the Amiga. I'm sure
totally.
I'm sure you had it.
I did have it. I played it quite a lot of it on the Amiga.
Yeah, I'm sure I played it as well at your house quite a lot because again it was like, ooh, it's like hand that's pretty in it, and we didn't really know what we were doing.
We blew the planets. Yeah, we didn't have a
clue what we were doing. We just clicked around a bit, like the graphics, and I think we just turned it off and then played some IK Plus. But it was one of those games that I associate with the Amiga, and certainly not on the C64. Didn't even know. Obviously, it's disc only, and so I'd never seen it. And as you said, the control method, it's not as bad as some we've seen. But when you're converting a mouse to a joystick, but you can still tell it's not how it's meant to be. It's not. You can just feel it. And one of the main draws of the Amiga version, the visuals, they're taking quite the hit here. Some of them are all right. The planet landing is okay, if you squint a little bit and things like that. But the alien graphics and things like that, and the landing stuff is like weird.
That's good.
Weird. It looks odd. So yeah, I found it hard to say much about this. It just feels like a pointless downport. It's like, just get it on every machine. It's not built for an 8-bit machine. Put it on an 8-bit machine, okay. But, I guess if you like eclectic French video games, it might be worth a look. But, it's not, certainly, this isn't the definitive version of this oddity, that's for sure. So it's the Amiga version. Just go play the Amiga version, which you can do very easily these days if you really want to play Captain Blood. This is not the version. I can't recommend it. You got 77%, maybe, I suppose. If all you had was a Commodore 64 and a disk drive at the time, you might get some enjoyment out of this weirdness, but it is very strange. And I mean, it's better than that. What was the other crappy one with loads of things? Explorer. I mean, it's better than that kind of nonsense and stuff like that. But it's still in that area, and it's like 32,000 planets. Great. How many of them are actually useful? 50. Okay. So, as you said, needle in a haystack type stuff, and you will blow that first planet up, and then you're screwed. Which is always a bit of a downer. But and I didn't like figuring out sentence structures for aliens when you're having to scroll all those things across to find different words, and there were so many of them, and trying to remember what you were saying, what you wanted. And there was because he was saying, me, like you said, me scared spaceship, and I was looking for don't be scared or something like, well, don't, he's fine. But there wasn't.
Piecing together the dialogue's a pain, isn't it?
What am I supposed to tell him? I was like, no. So no. Captain Blood was always one I remember us playing and coming away from it exactly the same, going, ooh, we have no idea what we're doing. Yeah, we have no idea what we're doing, and it's the same now. No. There we go. Same as the C64, except uglier. Captain Blood, there we go. Strange one. Let's move along. And our next one is another budget title. It is Street Gang. Street Gang. This was £2. Now, this is odd. This was originally released in Germany, I'm presuming at full price, in 1987 by Time Warp Productions. And for some unknown reason, players have decided... Who were players the budget label of? Did we find out? Would they the budget label of somebody, we said?
I can't remember.
I can't remember now. Anyway, they've decided to bring this over here at the arse end of 1988 and foist this budget travesty upon us. So the original release told the story of Mickey, who lived a boring life until his parents upped sticks and moved to New York. Here, Mickey encountered the street gangs and decided he wanted to join them. But in order to do so, he had to make his way across town and cut the beloved tuft of hair from the notorious Curl's head. That was the original story. However, in making it across the English Channel or the North Sea, I'm not sure whichever route they took, the story has become something much different. So this is from the inlay of the new box, the player's one. No one is safe on the streets. New York City has been overrun by gangs of crack-crazed punks, malicious thugs and horrible hoods. The notorious Curl, feared leader of the most vicious gang, has decreed that no man or woman will cross his east side district of the city without being mugged. You take on the role of Mickey Spatzberg, ex-New York City cop, brain surgeon, and vigilante street fighter. You must travel to the east side to save the life of a small child who desperately requires surgery. Using your skills in armed and unarmed combat, you must fight your way across the crime-ridden streets of New York through the roughest, toughest ghettos, construction sites. The construction sites usually dead rough. Or they're just where builders work to build stuff. Warehouses and the infamous Central Park, populated by bin-dwelling, drug-crazed, acid house T-shirt clad punks, private dicks, and hired badmen. Something took a turn for the
how weird
the strange when it hit budget label, but that's the story we've got here. Anyway, this was produced by Mark A. Ulrich and Armin Gessert. I don't recognise that name. Coded by Armin Gessert and Arndt Nolt. Graphics by Boris Kunkel and Michael Groch, and music by George Brand and Christoph Bergman, according to Lemon64. Although Christoph Bergman is not actually credited in the game itself. The title screen has the credits for the game and the title and a wavy high score table if you leave it long enough. There's not much here, so pressing the fire button tells us to get ready for level 1. Now, with a name like Street Gang and the title screen and the cover, which shows kind of a, hoods and not very great title screen. It's an odd title cover of this one. I was kind of expecting maybe a sort of an early version of Renegade, like a belt scroller type. Because it kind of has that kind of feel about it, okay?
Yeah.
But I guess, knowing that it actually came out over a year earlier, hoping for one of them was a bit much. So instead, what we actually have here is a Kung Fu Master knockoff.
It is.
And a very poor one at that. So our hero comes running on from the left, past what looks like a British pub. It's got a pub sign outside. It looks like a British pub. This doesn't like New York. Very common in downtown New York, British pubs. At the top is your health, represented by a deflating bicep.
Like a dog shit.
Well, yeah, but it's a deflating bicep. You also get the name of the game, your score, and the number of lives. And this is the one thing I actually did like. I do like the way these come running on from the right when you start. I quite like they come running on from the right, stand in line, except that when they face the player, the silhouettes make them look like Cylons.
Too, yeah.
So it's kind of weird. But the rest of the screen, about 3/4 is taken up with the left to right scrolling action. Our hero, Mickey, is clad in a pair of pink trousers. I'm going to say trousers, and he's not naked from the waist down. Because it could be either. He's got a red jumper and brown specs and does not look like your typical action hero or Mickey Spatzberg, brain surgeon, ex-cop and vigilante street fighter, as we are supposed to now be. He looks more like the original Mickey who's just went there and wants to go and cut Curl's hair. So yes, that's what he is. As you start, dudes in bright green tracksuits come from either side and you have to punch them before they hit you. Should they hit you, your bicep deflates, and if it goes flat, you explode and lose a life, and you must start again from the start of the level, which is annoying. Sometimes opponents in brown coats will appear and shoot you dead instantly with no warning and no real way of getting out of the way of the bullet because the bullets move too fast. Also, enemies pop up from bins to shoot you as well, and that bullet moves too fast and you'll instantly die. You only have one move to deal with this, which is a punch. There's no kick, it's just a punch. But some enemies in that first level will drop a spray, and you can pick that up and use that instead. It says use the spray. It's like spray. It's just the same as the punch, except with left reach. Stupid. And that's about it. There's nothing to this game. It's stupidly difficult, and death is only a man in a brown coat away at any one time. And then it's back to the beginning of the level every bloody time. The only redeeming feature of this game is the music, which is excellent throughout. It's really good. I really like the music in this, but that's it. The graphics are blocky and a bit of a joke. The gameplay is rote Kung Fu Master, only nowhere near as good or enjoyable. The backgrounds are ugly. The whole thing feels somewhere in the middle of Kung Fu Master and Street Hassle, I thought, in kind of tone and play game ways. It's that kind of thing, but nowhere near as good as either of those. And I didn't particularly like Street Hassle as well. Back when we played that. Even at budget price, this is a bad game. There's not much to say about this. I didn't get very far in it because it's stupid. There's only 4 levels. You wander along. I don't know what the other levels are like. I didn't care enough to go find them. It's boring. It's stupid. It's crap. The gameplay is nothing. Your bicep just deflates. You just get shot and you're done and you go back to the beginning. I was very frustrated very quickly and I didn't want to play this very long. Interestingly, Armin Gessert, obviously not too long after making this, goes on to make Guyana Sisters.
Bizarre.
So the effort here isn't all wasted, I guess. But bringing it over to the UK at this point was indeed a very big waste of time. I don't know why. I don't know why players have done it. Maybe trading on his name or something. People might know, but it's crap. This is awful. It's a really, really crap Kung Fu Master clone, and just avoid because this is rubbish. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, what's to like about it really? The music was good, and there's a weird remix thing, isn't there, on the tiles? So if you press the keys 1 to 8, you can do some kind of remix thing. I don't know. So it's
quite interesting.
Scratch the titles tune. It's multi-load as well, bizarrely.
Yeah, it's an odd multi-load as well. The next it loads in while it loads it in and then loads the next level in or something. There's some weird stuff.
So there's obviously some, there's a version that's been converted here because the tape version would have done that as well. But anyway, put that all aside, the game's crap, isn't it? Really?
Yes, yeah, very much so.
I mean, it's just a very, very, very naff Kung Fu Master with none of the good stuff in it.
No.
Really naff graphics, really bad backgrounds. Nothing's good. Players sort of flutter on, and their walk cycles are really odd. Sort of prance more than run, I guess. I don't know. It all felt a bit stupid.
Yep.
Your fighting is neither has impact nor any kind of feeling. It's just, it's just puffs of smoke. It's a abracadabra puff of smoke kind of stuff. Plays terribly. Really badly blocky backgrounds as well. Now and again. Crappy main sprites and enemies, really lumpy controls. Everything feels like it has no impact. Indeed, this game has no impact other than, you'll feel like you've just been hit with a dog shit, which is ironically on the screen on top left-hand corner to display your strength. So as the dog shit deflates, so does your sense of well-being when you're playing this game. £2 for this is a rip-off. Even at £2, it's not very good.
No. This
is bound to be in the list of games your granny got you that you don't want, you don't want to thank her for. A long time since we thought about that, but this is one of those. Not very good. Not very good. This is adding nothing to the side-scrolling fighting game canon. It's shite. So
it's too late because this obviously feels like we didn't get the original over here. So this would be a new release. Nope. It would feel like, but it's 2 years old and it's 2 years out of date. It would be crap in beginning of 1987 as a Kung Fu Master clone.
Utter crap. Avoid.
Yeah, absolutely. Street gang. No, bad thing. Let's move along. Let's run away from that street gang. And maybe get into a car and drive cross country, maybe. And maybe that might be better because, Graham, we're going Overlander.
We do. 46%. Oh dear.
Oh.
£9.99.
Oh.
Published by Elite. Concept Simon Cook. Coded by Richard Underhill. Fletch uses Richard Underhill's credit card, doesn't he, in the film Fletch?
I wonder if he knows about it.
Graphics, Pete Tattersall. Title screen was Paul Walker. Obviously not the same Paul Walker that was in Fast and Furious. And the musician is Mark Cooksey. The elite musician, Mark Cooksey.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even call it a homage. This is a wannabe Road Blasters. This wants to be Road Blasters so bad that it really isn't. It just wants to be Road Blasters. It also wants to be Mad Max. It borrows so much thought process from Mad Max. It's basically ridiculous anyway. So, whether it's Road Blasters or Mad Max, I guess, in this story, the world has been scorched because of the overuse of aerosols and its damage to the ozone layer. And while this was, and still is, a real fact, and it led to the banning of CSEs inside of aerosols, didn't really have any bearing on the global frying of the sort of thing that happens in this game. Anyway, that didn't happen in reality, but it did in this game, which is set, by the way, in 2025, which seems oddly prescient.
Yeah, very much so. After last summer.
Anyway, it's funny. It's only a couple of years away now, really. So Earth is now like Death Valley, dry, scorched soil, no trees or vegetation to speak of. Radiation from the sun, thanks to the ozone depletion, has caused severe damage to the atmosphere, both breathable and party. And so the people moved underground, like they always do. They always go underground, don't they? We live underground. Don't go underground. Yeah, it's still, it's not nice under there. Indeed, vast subterranean cities evolved, though oddly isolated from each other. Bum, 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 bum. The only remaining link between the cities is the old freeways, or motorways as we called them, which are ruled by gangs and outcasts known as surface dwellers. The only people brave enough to attempt to travel between cities are the Overlanders. What is an Overlander, I hear you ask? Well, think Mad Max. They're loners that drive around in a customized pre-apocalyptic car, making a living by running cargo for cash across the surface dweller zones. They live for cash because cash means more car parts. And what do car parts mean? Prizes. Not really.
Yay.
And that means we're heading dangerously close to IP infringement at any point in time.
And when you arrive at the next place, they say, nice to see you.
Exactly. This could have tipped into Mad Max infringement at any point.
What do you mean? Tips into.
Yeah, true. So the game then, you start by choosing if you want to run a Federation or criminal mission. So you've got two choices. The criminal missions have more of a reward but carry more risk and they're more difficult. And the Federation ones have a less reward and are less challenging. Principally, they play out the same way, though. Once you've chosen that, you whiz to the section to add fuel to your vehicle. I was able to add fuel, but not reduce the fuel I added, which was really odd and annoying.
Yep.
After that, you can spend some money on upgrades for your car. Again, you can only scroll down, not up. And that is also stupid and annoying.
Really annoying. Yeah.
Really stupid. There's a whole load of upgrades as well. So if you happen to go past the part where you start the game, you've got to go all the way through them again, which is stupid and annoying.
Yep.
Anyway, so I said there's a whole bunch of upgrades. You can buy the upgrades once you've collected enough money, but you won't have enough money at this point because you'll have used too much on your fuel and you won't have any left for anything anyway. If you're like me. So you start the race, you start the game, and once you've chosen your extra bits, if you've got any. And as a note, by the way, I thought since the distance between places is both arbitrary and not indicated anywhere, so there's no way you can know how much fuel is too much fuel.
No.
And it makes a point of saying in the instructions, don't fill it with too much fuel because that's a waste. It's like, but you've got no way of knowing because it doesn't say this place could be between 30 and 60 fuels away. The fuel is just a bar on a thing that you can't go down from. You can only fill up. You can't empty. You can only fill. Stupid. Anyway, after that, you hit the road once you've done all that. And you're presented with the main game window. At the top is the obligatory logo, of course. Under that is your current score, money, and level in quite a nice text font, all being said. Under that is your road view. Brown hills and mountains in the background. They're back. The deep, dark mountains of brown. So you're always, driving towards the brown hill, which is, a way of saying you need a shit through most of this, I think, really. Oh, can we stop the car? I'm driving towards the brown hill. Got right brown hill going on here. Anyway. And of course, the brown hills are in the background. The grey road, though, is in the middle with an now obligatory red and white striped road edging, of course. Of course, it's got that. It's a good job they do that in the future, in the future where they always make sure you know the edges of the roads.
Yeah, absolutely. Important. Yeah.
So nothing unusual there. Upon this is your car.
Replace cat's eyes with them, you see.
Well, yeah, because to keep cat's eyes going. Upon the road is obviously your car, which is meant to look like some kind of supercharged V8, but it didn't look like that. It looked more like an old Citroen or an Austin Ambassador Y-Reg. Under that is your overlarge UI, indicating your fuel, speed, RPH, and any extras that you have picked up, which are indicated by little lights and things if you have them. You control all this with your joystick in the usual way, so up is speed up, fire shoots a bullet, and left and right controls the direction. The road does bend in a way that always bends in these games, so it's a very bendy road as usual, with the car suffering from that sort of skidding to the left or right when such bends occur. And the road itself is festooned with stuff to thwart your mission, including other gang cars. There's little things that you hit. There's just stuff on the road that you got to avoid. But you can shoot some of it with your one bullet that you can fire from seemingly the front of your car. But it doesn't really shoot a lot, and it also doesn't blow anything up other than really sort of simple things. So, and you will at some point encounter this car that just keeps nudging you off the side of the road, which is really annoying. You just, to avoid it, just slow down and it just goes ahead of you and drives off. But it's just really stupid.
Yep.
So, like I said, then that's the game. You're driving down the road, bendy road, trying to not die, not hit stuff, not get knocked off the road or anything like that. And if you get that and win the race or get to the end, you will get the reward. You can then go and buy more stuff for your car and take on another challenge. And so it goes on. And race, finish, deliver, get paid, upgrade, repeat. That is the game. I didn't think the music was too bad in this, all said and done. Passable, I suppose. And the look and feel of the pre-game parts, I thought were all right. So the parts pre the actual gameplay, so choosing your stuff, the look and feel of those parts, as much as it's stupid annoying that you can't reduce your fuel or push up at those points, for reasons I can't even think of. Apart from that, the beginning part where the car drives on and the look and feel of that, it actually leads, the actual look of the Overlander logo and everything looks quite nice. Also, I think this is a deport, another deport from the 16-bit versions. So they look very similar, but obviously they've got the graphic ante upped a little bit again, as usual. The problem here isn't the graphics of the interface. It's when you get to the game itself. The game is dull, really featureless and dull. You are, again, driving down the long grey road towards Brownsville, encountering stupid stuff along the way that you can actually either easily avoid. There's no real feeling of speed or acceleration. Even if you get the turbo charge on this and press turbo, it doesn't feel like you tear off across the desert, deserted, scorched earth. Conveniently, this scorched earth didn't actually equate to the roads, which look perfectly tarmacked and well maintained.
I don't know who's filling those potholes in.
Exactly. So this game just feels like it's got all the premise, but none of the grit, none of the things that make these games what they are. And so it's just a dull race game, and not only a very good one of those. it feels like there's no imperative with this game. There's no push to get the upgrades. There's no reason to be. There's no reason to be doing what you're doing. If there was a wider arc that you needed to collect a certain amount of things to free a prisoner or bribe a way out of a situation, or something Mad Maxy even, where there was a huge tank of fuel that was surrounded by Lord Humongous and all of his gang, or some equivalent of Lord Humongous, Lord Mighty Big or something like that, or whatever they might call it. But there's none of that. So there's no imperative to do anything in this game. There's no grand mission. It's just be an Overlander and do Overlandery stuff. And that just isn't very good. Add to that the graphics in the game, which are very boring racer game look, and there's nothing really fancy about that. Well, Fury Road it ain't for me, and I didn't like it. What about you?
It's more like Bland Lane.
It is.
It's another Road Blasters type knockoff, isn't it? And another not very good game. It's just a really bland 3D effect. Floaty controls are just not very enjoyable. I thought the music was dull. The graphics are okay, but they only use up a really small part of the screen.
Yep.
Like, there's about...
Interface is massive.
Interface at the bottom is half the screen. Title and stuff at the top. You've got, what, maybe a third, if that, a quarter of the screen.
Not
is
even
to rate
that.
it.
Yeah. I'd say it's just over a quarter, isn't it? So.
Yeah. And although they've tried to add some new stuff with the upgrades and they're pointless and stupid because, like you said, how much fuel do I need?
Yeah.
And once you don't know that, because the first time I didn't get in, I put a little bit of fuel in and then bought some weapons. And then I just ran out of fuel. I was like, well, I didn't know how much I needed.
Yeah, exactly. So, stupid.
Ridiculous. So, yeah, it feels pointless. There's nothing much to do. For full price, I'd be very unhappy if I bought this or got it for Christmas at this point. Yeah. No, they keep trying, they're trying to do these 3D, it's a 3D spy hunter, isn't it, when it comes down to it? That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a 3D spy hunter. They keep trying to do this, but they're just not getting it right. None of them have got it right. This just continues that trend. It's just bland and uninteresting. As you said, Bland Lane. Rather than Fury Road Overlanders. It just, I don't know, this kind of game has been done better. I mean, I would rather go play Great American Cross Country Road Race.
Yeah.
Which was a better racing game.
It wasn't perfect, but a better racing game, yeah.
Yeah, and did better stuff and was more enjoyable. I always used to enjoy that. But this when you introduce shooting, I want that shooting to feel shooty, good. Yeah. Explosive. And here it's just not. It's just
it's another peh, isn't it?
Yeah.
Peh.
And it's what was the other one we saw the other week? Was it Road Blasters where you have to pull down and press fire to use your special weapon? Because this has got the same control system, hasn't it? Yeah. And that's stupid again. Down in a racing game. Nope. No. Up and fire. Maybe better. I don't know.
They didn't quite get the controls right with joystick in this one, did they? Goodness.
No, certainly didn't. No. I mean, the car visual was quite nice. I quite like the car, and its graphics were quite nice, and the bikes and stuff. They're all right. The sprite work is quite good in it, but that's about it. It, really. Yeah, there we go. Overlander, not particularly very good. We've got one more left, so let's get to it. And that last one is Psi-Droid. This is another budget one, $2.99. It's got 60%. It's another budget release, Graham, from Zeppelin Games.
Ooh.
Zeppelin, $2.99. It keeps Scott Williams' fascination with droids going, as he made this. And he also made the game Droids before this. Not the crap Star Wars one, the other one we played a while back.
I remember it.
But that sort of really grey one where you're going up and down ladders and stuff. And this next game on the Atari ST will be Robots with a Z.
Yeah,
he certainly had a thing for them. They're metal people type things.
He did.
That's for sure. Droids, Psi-Droids, and robots. Anyway, yes, he made it, and Adam Gilmour did the music.
Okay.
I think we'd heard other stuff from him on Zeppelin Games. I think he did the other stuff.
He did Draconis and
that sort of stuff. Yeah. The story on this is that a large spaceship, a dreadnought no less, is heading to Earth carrying a pulse bomb because the Earth needs it. Doesn't say why.
Fair enough.
Doesn't say why. It just needs it. We need a pulse bomb. All right.
We need it.
Problem is that you, a droid on the ship, have lost the bomb. Droid, you've lost the bomb.
Never trust a droid with a bomb.
With a bomb. And you need to get it back, or it's the end of the world as we know it. And I do not feel fine about that.
No.
The game kicks off with a very nice title screen. I really like the title screen on this. It's got a great logo. It changes colour. Some nice presentation on the front end on this. It's got a high score table and some spacey effects in the background. Sort of a droid bouncing up and down as well. Some nice stuff for it. Decent enough tune as well. I really like the music. Good. Makes a good first impression for a budget title, that's for sure. There's no options. So pressing the fire button gets us going and presented with a flick screen collect 'em up. Again, first impressions are pretty good. The graphics are decent, with big, slightly chunky but well-shaded sprites on your droid and the enemy droids that beetle about. The background platforms are well done. They've got like weird sort of coiled effect around them, which it works quite well, but it looks nice.
Yeah.
This has a nice visual style, similar to what we saw in Slayer, and that kind of that sort of same sort of budget, above average budget graphical level. There's a nice visual style to this. So they're well done, nice cold effect. And there's a decent multi-speed starfield in the background as well, which looked quite good as well. But it did make me feel that the ship is made entirely of glass.
True. Maybe it is.
Well, maybe it is. I don't know. Yeah, but who cares? It looks pretty good. Whatever. It looks nice. This has got a good look to it. Control for this is simple enough. We'll come to some of the control stuff in a minute, but it's simple enough in that you move left and right, up is jump, and fire shoots out a boomerang type of energy that kills enemy droids, and then it returns to you. That's what it is. There are a number of podules scattered about the level that you must collect in order to progress through the game. These come in different colours, and thank you to Lost 8-Bit Caverns on YouTube, who had noted them down in his long play as to what they were, because I couldn't find any instructions for this. I looked, and this seems to be a bit of a forgotten budget title. There's very little about this on the internet. So he put a list of them, or they put a list of them, so thank you for that. That's cool. So the yellow podules give you points. The blue ones give you a 23-second invincibility. 23 seconds, that's really precise. The red ones clear the screen of enemies, the purple ones give you full energy, and the green ones give you a temporary ball weapon when you fire instead of the boomerang. Also dotted about the levels are teleporters, which you will need to use to navigate the level, because there's, you've only got sections of the level that are accessible. You use teleports to go to a different part of it. And there are also pods that when you go move over them, you hold down the fire button, they house like a strange mini game in which you must shoot descending rods that come down sort of tip by tip, and you've got to sort of knock them all back and last a certain amount of time in order to gain energy and plasma power or something. It's a weird thing. There's, I wasn't quite sure, because I said I didn't have the instructions sort of thing, so I made do as well as I could. But something where it said you've gained plasma power. Oh, okay, that's cool. The UI at the bottom of the screen shows your energy remaining, which is reduced with contact with the enemy droids, who I guess are enemies because they're pissed off with you for losing the bomb. I mean, you're all droids on the same ship. Why would they want to kill you? I mean, they surely want you to find the bomb. It also shows your score. It shows the high score and the number of podules left on the level to collect. It's a nice UI, actually, because it has it's nothing but information.
Yeah.
And it's good energy, score, high score, how much you got left to do. That's it. That's all you need, isn't it? It's all you need. You don't need a logo. I don't need to know the year. I don't need to know any of them things. It tells me what all I need to know. It's good. Now, all this may sound okay, and it is, but the control method is one of those bouncing affairs where your droid is constantly bouncing and does not stand still. It's not Cauldron 2 bad, which is, I think that was worse. I don't like Cauldron 2, but we've played others like this, and it's just as annoying here. There was something else we played recently as well where you're bouncing about. You bounce about, you try and stop and turn, and you end up falling off a ledge because you've bounced, and you can't turn until you've hit the floor, and you move at a certain pace, and you fall off, and you bounce, and you're trying to get round. So you try and jump up to a ledge, but you bounce off, and you got to go around again and line up again, and you're pressing up, and you're waiting to land to actually think you speed up and do the bounce, and it's annoying. If you fail, you will. It starts to get infuriating quite quickly because it's one of those control systems. I don't know why they do these control systems. I don't understand it. It's really annoying because and it gets infuriating because the enemies are smaller than you. So when you fire out your boomerang, because you're bouncing, the boomerang follows you on the y-axis, so it moves up and down with you as it fires across. So it generally goes above the head of the droids in front of you, and then comes back over them. So they just come back and walking into you, and you lose energy. You're like, I'm trying to shoot you, but you can't because they're too low. So that's really annoying. Yeah, I don't know. It's that boomerang flat plane. If I'm shooting something in the droids, I should be able to kill them. It's not simple. I don't care where the boomerang comes out of, but it should hit the enemies in front of me. I'm not asking for too much, just asking for that. That's all I'm asking for. That's what it is. There's a lot of screens here to navigate and podules to collect. There was loads on the first level. Is there 8 levels I think you've got to get through? I think it's 8 levels. And so for £3, aside from that control mechanism, you get around it. It's very polished and it's really well made. And there's no problems with it. It's bug free. I didn't run into any bugs. The only bug I found was I think part of the crack that was weirdly broken. I think that you had to press the opposite to actually get the enemies to appear. There was a bit of a broken crack, and it took me a few goes to get it right. And I was like, right, okay, I can get the game in now. Because the first time I played it, there were no enemies. I was like, like, oh, this is really peaceful. But that's not how you're supposed to play it. So it was the fault that cracked. Once I got it up and running properly, there's no thing. There is a problem as well in that you shoot enemies, they reappear 3 seconds later. They just reappear, which is that's frustrating and annoying. It's really, so when you actually are playing this properly, it's really hard. So although it's very well polished, it's stupidly hard and there are problems with it. It's probably a mapper's delight. I'm sure a mapper, those kind of, we've said this, it's a while since we've used that, but this is definitely a mapper's delight one for sure. Especially mapping where all the teleports take you and going back and forth and all the little levels, because they're all sort of joined but not joined. So you've got to sort of work out which teleport takes you to where and how and where, sort of things like that. But as I said, it's too hard. And you find yourself running out of energy, not because of you and not because of your lack of control, but because of fighting against that control system all the time and not being able to actually kill the things in front of you and them coming back so damn quickly. So that's a problem. If you can persevere with that, you may get some enjoyment out of it, but I found myself bouncing off this one quite quickly, if you will pardon that pun. Yeah, this could have been all right if they'd have sorted that control system out, because I think it looks and sounds really nice, but it just controls like a pain in the arse, which is a bit of a shame. But that's what I thought about Psi-Droid. What about you?
Yeah, not too far off the same, really. Nice graphics, nice shading. They've got that look, haven't they? The look that we spoke about before. They've got and it isn't a bad look for these games. It does mean that the sprite work is quite nice. The main sprite, quite large, but quite well realised. That the look of the game, all good. And the sound, of course, the music is, as you say, very good in this. Not bad at all. Adam Gilmour turning out yet another piece of decent music. All good, all good. But it's the controls, isn't it? It's always down to the controls. With this one, I did the same as you. I sort of played it and thought, this is a bit empty. And then figured out that there was obviously something gone wrong. So I managed to get that working. And then it presented itself as the crazy challenging game that it is. As these kind of things always are, it would be challenging enough without bouncing around. So bouncing around made it extra difficult. And it has that really annoying thing of when you go to jump onto a platform, it doesn't seem to activate the jump quick enough. So you always fall off the platform before you jump, which is like a real sort of timing thing, I think.
Yeah.
So frustrating that. I mean, is there anything more frustrating than that? And having to hop back up places and you down too far, and those sort of things just cause frustration for me. I mean, it looked all right. There was a lot going on, and yeah, the audio isn't bad. It's not terrible, this, is it? It's not like crap. It has all the parts. And if, like you said, there's a certain type of, mapper out there that's going to probably dig the mapping part of this and get into it a little bit more than I did and maybe enjoy collecting the little podules and that. For £3 though, it's not a bad game at £3. It's just a bit, it's a bit bland. It's a bit devoid of atmosphere again. It's got the look and feel of everything, but it just lacks, I don't know, it just feels a bit. When collect 'em up games could become very rote. Yeah. If you're just scrolling through lots of different screens that all kind of look the same, just in a different order with different enemies and just collecting little pods. It's a Notes of Yes odd type approach to it as well, the way you jump between the levels and the screens as well. So, you've got to have half a memory for the previous screen or map it so that you know that if you need to jump back up to a platform, whereabouts you're jumping up to and all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So for those that like it, you're going to dig it because it's got a lot of ingredients that, you enjoy in your cake. But for me, it was missing some of the chocolate and the sprinkles. And that's what I need. That's what I need on my cake. So no, it was all right, but it's nothing special really, apart from the graphics, which are quite nice. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, 60%. It's that average score, isn't it? It's about right. It's got 2/3. Right. It's 2/3 there, but just that control system just kind of ruins it a bit. And that's it. That's our games for this week. That's our episode. We looked at Slayer, which was a pretty decent, if a little bit short and probably too hard, left to right shooter, horizontal shooter in style of Armalite. It's budget Armalite, budget Zynaps, budget IO. We looked at Hopper Copper, which was stupid in the grand scheme of things. Stupid and empty. Yeah. Empty streets. In it. We looked at the Pepsi challenge, Pepsi Makes Pepsi, which was Pepsi Pac-Man. Cracked open a can of Pepsi to celebrate that one. I did. I really did. Captain Blood, which was go play the Amiga version if you're going to play this at all, because it's weird. Street Gang, which was a crap, an overly late Kung Fu Master knockoff. Overlander, which was a sort of rubbish. Crappy Road Blasters. And finally Psi-Droid, which had the ingredients, but then introduced a stupid control system. So a bit disappointing there. Yep. Not a great set of games. Slayer was pretty good, but Captain Blood's interesting, but
Not a great set of games this week. Yeah, this is what it is. It's what it is. Coming up next week, we've got 2 more weeks left to get through these. December is a really average month. There's not much big hitters apart from Bomboozle and Slayer. There's very little high scoring stuff this month. It's a lot of 70s, 60s, and 50s. So next week we have the joys of Pro Skateboard Simulator.
Oh dear.
Peter Beardsley's International Football, Battle Island.
Oh dear.
Which I have no idea about. Pro Ski Simulator.
Right. Okay.
Pro Skateboard, Pro Ski Simulator. We've also got the proper version of 1943.
Oh,
which
God.
I don't think is going to be very good. We have something called Final Assault, which again I don't think is going to be very good. And finally, Bubble Ghost.
Okay.
That's what we've got coming up next week. It is this truly is. We're playing them, so you don't have to this month.
Yeah, we're dragging it through, aren't we?
Yeah. But it is what it is, 7 games. That's it. If you wish to support the podcast, that would be cool. You can do that financially if you wish to, and you can afford it. That would be cool by going to our Patreon. That's at patreon.com/zapped to the past, where you get the episodes early and ad-free. You get access to our private Discord server and come along and have a chat with us on there. You get to ask us questions and stuff for the Ask the Podcast episodes we do, and included when we do anything like our episode 100 special or any kind of other specials that we might do. We like to include our patrons in them and see what we do. So we'll probably be like the end of year review and reviews and sort of awards there, all things like that. Was there anything else I missed? There's always something I missed. I always think I can't remember what else. And you get mentioned on the shout out as well each month. So that's always cool. So that costs you, the full price one is a little more than it's £4.50 or your equivalent, which is a pint of beer or something like that. Or you can just come along and just chug us £1 each month, and that gets our hearty thanks. Grand if you can do that. Yeah, December 1988. It's not a great month, I don't think. You got anything you want to say about it so far?
So far, well, I've been very underimpressed with it, I have to say. This is meant to be the big run-up to Christmas, but you start to see that the Amiga is really starting to land heavily. Yeah. You know that this Christmas the Amiga was selling lots and lots and lots of hardware. So I think the first of the sort of Amiga packs, as it were, the 500 is out, isn't it? So the death signs were sort of writing was on the wall for the Commodore 64 at this point. No, there's still plenty of life left, and there's plenty of games.
Yeah, there are.
In terms of the where the production heart was, we're now starting to see a little bit of that shift where the game comes out on the Amiga first, and then it's deported to the 8-bit versions, and not very well in most cases. That isn't a great transition so far. I've not seen anything, with the exception of Defender of the Crown, I have to say, that's really given the 16 bits a good run for their money. So, but the good thing is out of that is that most of the games that have been crap on the 16-bit have also been crap on the 8-bit as well. So it's not like it's not like they've made a good game crap in most instances. More often than not, they're a really average game made just not as much due care and attention.
Yeah, true.
But we'll see. We're sailing the seas of average yet again. It'd be interesting how is. And no great big games come in to sweep because every year so far there's always been a big game that came in and swept the board, isn't there? In December we had a couple of late entries, but this time I don't know if we're going to get them. So
Bomboozle's a big one, isn't it? Whether Bomboozle will make our final. I
was going to say who knows, but the way the Breadbin Awards go, but there hasn't been a standout sort of super game that's come in and gone, hold my beer. We've had a couple of those in the past, haven't we? December, so.
Yeah, but not this year. I don't think it's going to be Peter Beardsley's International Football, that's for sure.
No, well, I think obviously there was a dust-up between Emlyn Hughes and Peter Beardsley.
Well, he was Gary Lineker's partner mostly for England, you see. So it's Gary Lineker we've seen games of. So had to get Peter Beardsley. He's like, I want a bit of that pie. And then they've gone, here's your pie. It's rancid and stinks of shit.
You got a fifth of that pie.
Yeah, he's like, oh, okay. Anyway, there we go. That's episode 107. We'll be back again next week, as ever. Episode 108. We've got, we've got 7 more games. We talked about them. We've also got the albums for the week. We might even have Mr. Wilson back on as well.
You never can tell.
You never can tell. We'll see what that crazy dude is up to and see if we can pin him down for more chat about albums and see if he's up for that. So I think that's about it. So as ever, I have been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham Raddings.
And you have been listening to Zapped to the Past, and we will see you again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings, and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.